Dude, I'll be amazed if anybody actually picks freaking Assassin's Creed Shadows over Avowed, because I think Assassin's Creed Shadows looks more boring. I don't know. I think more boring than mid. It just seems stupid in my opinion. Like, I'm so beyond over Assassin's Creed games at this point. Like, Shadows is gonna be bad, don't get me wrong. Shadows, there's a lot of things wrong with that game. Current state of Ubisoft and everything else aside. But personally, I think Avowed just seems like, what is there to be excited about, you know? Skyrim's good and doesn't need fancy 4K unlike Avowed. Well, here's the thing, like, technically Avowed, as far as like the graphical quality, the art style, it's not for me. I'm sure if it appealed to somebody, I mean, it kind of looks like a mobile game of sorts, I don't know. Hey Maki, how's it going, dude? Avowed just kind of has like that Fortnite mobile game kind of feel to it. Nothing that I would personally be looking forward to. And it's like, I've got enough RPGs. Why would I play some mid-looking crap like that? So, I think Assassin's Creed Shadows is just gonna be boring. You haven't seen anything from Avowed? That's because there's nothing to see, dude. I was tweeting at Sid Alpha earlier on Twitter, and he was talking about it. I'm like, Avowed looks like a lesser clone of better games, is all it is. It's like, if your standard run-of-the-mill fantasy RPG, you know, was cloned and it just wasn't as good. So, that being said, guys, we got a bunch to go over. I don't want to be up super late tonight. I know my wife is going to kill me if we're up to midnight again, but there's a lot to unpack here because there's been a lot over the last few days I want to go over. Mainly because there's been so much contentious, absolutely like insane shit that I feel like certain people have lost the plot. And that happens, you know. The Avowed director is acting like Todd Howard. Well, we're going to watch Sungrand Studios video. I wasn't going to watch it earlier. I wanted to watch it with you guys. Talking about the DEI hire, who is the Avowed director. And then, of course, we know about Matt Hansen, the Avowed art director, who has been a complete lunatic online. So that being said, guys, happy Monday. Glad you guys can make it. I'm going to get things set up here. Don't forget to check out Instant Gaming, link down below. If you need a new computer, check out Meta PCs. Links to both are down in the description. And let's go ahead and get started. Yes, we're gonna watch the Sungrand. I saw that Sungrand video. He had a video on it, so we're gonna, or Sungrand Studios. We're gonna talk about that. So, Oblivion. Let me go ahead and pull up the full screen here. And then we can kind of go through some of the screenshots we have. There's a trailer I saw somewhere that's got some gameplay of Avowed. You can look it up yourself. It's nothing amazing, nothing to write home about. This guy here, Rebs Gaming, says Avowed features large defined zones as opposed to taking place in an open world. Obsidian says having established zones is a good pacing mechanism for the choices players make, and it's still a very open structure within those zones. Todd Howard's better than her. I don't think the bar is set very high, to be honest. So, I don't think this looks bad as far as scenery goes. I think what gets me is when you get into different color schemes and all that. It's a really hard question on the poll. If it's not hard, what's the point? That's what she said, you know? I need to have my little sound effects on the ready. They listen to our feedback at least. Are we talking about Todd Howard or are we talking about other studios? See, personally, I don't like having contained... I guess it depends on the game. So for a game like Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, which is still open world, but you're limited to a certain extent. More like I'd say the Dark Souls that have predetermined paths and all that. There are times that it works to not be able to like go wherever the hell you want. But in general, if I'm doing something that's an RPG, I'm always going to prefer the open world format just because the freedom that it gives. Mind-bogglingly hard question. Yeah, the Fortnite art style, and there are people who will argue with me and say Fortnite is good. I get it as a game, as far as maybe the enjoyment value, it's good, but to each their own, right? And of course, now we have this recent thing that came out. I think Vavra covered it. that the Avowed Steelbook Premium Edition is up for pre-order, comes with a 5-day early access. So essentially, God, they're going to have people start playing this game on February 13th. Wow. More story-based RPGs end up quite poor. I don't like single paths. I mean, it just depends on the game for me personally. Great job defending. Well, see, Candace, I'm not trying to defend Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Hey, Patriot, I'm just trying to make people see objectively. I have no problem with people criticizing the gay sex scene option as far as like the retconning of Henry, the people who point out that they said no diversity in Bohemia and then they throw a black guy in there. I can understand the story behind him being there, but then there's people who point out like the infiltrate the anti-Semite camp. Why is it anti-Semitic? Well, maybe that's the only word they had to use. I don't know. Yeah, no, Candace, I know what you're saying. The game needs to stand up on its own merit. And if it's not a great game, it doesn't merit being defended, you know? But people just, oh God, it's like, yeah. We'll get to Kingdom Come, because there's more. We'll get to that in a minute. The Long Dark game going to have more players than Avowed. The Long Dark, I don't know if I've seen that one. Anyways, so they released the Steelbook, guys. You remember the good old days of getting the Steelbook? I have the Steelbook for Halo 2. Thing is freaking awesome. I got it used at Game Crazy for like $15. I think it's a 2-disc set for Halo 2. I think the second set, the second disc was like the extra multiplayer maps to download, right? Because at that point everything was on disc. The Steelbook Premium Edition comes with the Steelbook case, the Avowed Xbox PC download code with 5 days early access, a letter from the developer, illustrated map of the Living Lands. Now, maps I love. I've actually got my Morrowind map around here somewhere that I want to put up, like frame and put up before it gets ruined. Digital soundtrack, which we'll never listen to. I have the soundtrack to Elden Ring. I've never listened to it. 2 premium companion cosmetic DLC packs. What's missing from the Steelbook is apparently a disc. Okay? So you spend $95, you get the Steelbook, and in there is your code. That's it. Dude, I've got the Steelbook for Halo 2. I've got it either in the garage in my video games or down here. Okay, so it's a survival game. Interesting. The open world is a massive distraction, whereas, yeah, it doesn't have any physical copy, guys. None whatsoever. So, $95, you get a Steelbook with nothing in it. It has pronouns. Remember, this was the game that Matt Hansen was pushing, trying to like attack Elon Musk and saying, "Oh, just wait till you see the official version of the game. If you think the pronouns are bad, you ain't seen nothing yet." Essentially, yeah. Matt Hansen is a complete lunatic, guys. And of course, now you see that the game is apparently 74 gigabytes. That's kind of standard at this point for RPGs, especially AAA RPG slop. And then you see people like this Unifade Walker. Remember Eddie, the woman that thought she was a man, who was talking about the trans surgery scars in Veilguard and how amazing it was? She's now shifting focus to apparently defend Avowed, even though nobody's talking about it. So Nure says, "See this? Didn't I say Avowed to be next? It's like watching a rerun of a show nobody liked the first time. Either I'm psychic or they're just that predictable." And this Eddie character is like, "A few people have mentioned Avowed to me, but I know nothing about it. What do you guys think? Is it looking promising?" It's like, okay, so I've seen this person mention Avowed. They've mentioned that they were massively defending Dragon Age Veilguard. Let me see here. They also say, "Seeing all the hype around Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I think it's very bold of Obsidian to release Avowed only a week later. It'll be interesting to see how it does with everyone balls deep in Bohemia." Ironically, Eddie doesn't have balls, even though she thinks she does. Same person here. So if you guys are wondering who these weirdo shills are online that defend these strange titles, these are those people, okay? And this is not meant to cause harm or to truly deride this person, but this is just who these people are, okay? Oh, they should have just made a book of pronouns, yeah. Yeah, if you buy this game from a store, you'll get the digital code. Matt Hansen's ancestors would have been disappointed. Well, to be fair, I think a lot of our ancestors would have been disappointed, but it is what it is. You can't change that now. Yeah, well, like I said, this is a woman who thinks she's a man, I think. It's this person here. I'm going to have to make myself disappear for a second because you can't see her. Well, you also can't see her here either. Let me go full screen real quick. So this person, Eddie, has been a massive Dragon Age shill. They were the same person that came out, he, she, it, they, them, whatever the hell it wants to be called, came out and said, I don't think BioWare's on my side. Like, no shit, Sherlock. Because all of a sudden, they let the entire team go, right? They let the entire team go from Dragon Age Velgard because the game was such a massive disaster. And this person had a meltdown online saying, I just don't feel like they're on my side. No shit. They're on the side of making money, right? So this is who this person is, okay? This is the kind of people we're dealing with now, is the shills. Oh my god, every alert just popped up all at once. That's just too much. Just their abstract mind. I think it is more just their abstract minds. If you buy the game, can you stop seeing that hideous picture of Eddie? Oh, the hideous picture of Eddie is on me, man. That's complimentary. You don't have to pay for nothing. Trying to be a Gen Z TikToker at 30 plus years old. Yeah, there's nothing worse, nothing more cringe as a millennial who is closer to Gen X than millennial, at least in mentality, than people who are in my age bracket who try to act like Gen Z. There's nothing more cringe than that. So, same person. This is just the shill hive mind. You see this Twitter account, Avowed Countdown, okay? Enter Avowed, welcome to hell, Avowed haters. Showing that Avowed is sitting at what looks to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, the number 8 spot, right? No, Avowed is not at number 8. Avowed is currently sitting outside of the number 10 spot at number 12. But of course, they moved it around to get Avowed further down. It's just insane. So these people will try to do everything they can to distort the narrative, to twist the narrative, to suit the games that they like. Much like I've seen people talk about how, oh, you guys don't care about woke or DEI anymore, you're going to shill for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And I'm like, no. Criticize wokeness all you want to, but we have to remain factual. We have to still stick to hardcore facts. Dragon Age Velgard, for prime example, as a woke game, had example after example after example, dialogue, cutscenes, trans surgery scars, you know, they, them, he, she, it, them, the zir, or whatever, piled on top of each other to point to and say, this is one steaming pile of woke shit. Kind of like Dustborn, right? The kind of like glaring examples. That doesn't mean other games don't have like small amounts of wokeness in them, or you could make the argument that maybe Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has wokeness in it. I can listen to the argument. The difference is not running away with something that we know to be completely false just because it suits our narrative, you know? Yeah, I think it's either Scottish or Northern Ireland. Whatever it is, she is not well. Not well at all. Hey, Oblivion, though, we can see your chats in the chat tonight. Yeah, Velgard's a pile of rainbow puke. It's a pile, it's like a puddle of rainbow unicorn diarrhea. Okay. So again, there are layers and levels to this. And I get it. There are people who are like, you can't allow any wokeness because any wokeness will lead to disaster. And it's like, okay, I understand the slippery slope argument. Hell, I've made the slippery slope argument from time to time. My point is simply, it's not about tolerating a certain amount of wokeness. It's like, how are we defining the word woke? And that's what it always comes back to. For me, woke is all about more of a political, ideological agenda using race as like a cover, a skin suit. Woke isn't, well, there's a gay character. That's not the same. Where people are not going to get en masse the same way Baldur's Gate 3 did it. Well, we'll see, Black Hat. We will see at the very end. Once these people release their gameplay footage from like 90, 100 plus hours in, we'll know. And at that point, it will be too obvious to hide. The problem is people splitting hairs over trying to define what woke actually is. Are we talking about Obsidian? The one that made Avowed? I don't know. Oh, you're talking about Oblivion? Oblivion's over in, yeah, Oblivion, you're not in the United States. You're not in Germany, are you? I can't remember. He's somewhere else. Yeah. No, and then when, I think H. Brown is Germany, and there's somebody else who's from Germany that comes by the chat once in a while. Somewhere cold. Oh, I think it's Greenland, right? No, I think he's in, I want to say he's in Greenland, if my memory serves me. Anyways. So yeah, like Black Cat said, there's possibility that there is weird stuff in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that has yet to be seen. And that's very possible, you know, I'm not going to say it's not. I would argue the difference between a game that has hundreds of hours of dialogue, gameplay, cutscenes that have nothing to do with modern politics, ideological LGBT agenda, and, you know, pronoun pushing, but having some characters that you could interpret as woke or say are woke or whatever, that is by far nowhere near the extent of, you know, the issue, whereas we have games like Dragon Age Vanguard, or like games that have people like Matt Hansen here who are completely obsessed with pushing pronouns and attacking Elon Musk on Twitter. So... Oh, same place as Endymion, so you're like the eastern part of Canada then. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's a big area. A lot of land up there. Anyways. Yeah, Matt Hansen over at Obsidian is the one that was participating in these leaked Slack messages, basically shitting all over people that don't agree with them, which is fine, I guess, in hindsight, if everybody at your company all agrees on the same politics. The problem is, what do you do with people who don't agree, who feel like they're being basically, you know, shit on or, you know, talked about in the Slack chat, but they're afraid to speak up, you know? That's why, again, it's just an unprofessional way to run your business. Which I gotta say is a lot easier by myself. I can literally have any conversation I want to at my work because I work by myself. So, premium Avowed costs a lot, yeah. $95. I spent $70 on Elden Ring, and then $40 on the DLC. Haven't beat the DLC yet. I'll get around to it eventually. I'm most of the way through it, I think. But I got, you know, 140 hours out of my first playthrough of Elden Ring for my $70. So, you know, if you price it per hour, it's a pretty good value for my money, right? I can't imagine spending $95 on a premium edition of any game, not knowing how good it was going to be. Isn't the part he is? Yeah. So I think it's the eastern side of Canada tends to be like more of the conservative, whatever their version of right wing is, and then the you know, the western side is like where the more liberal areas are, as I understand it. I don't know. Canada's not real, so I don't know. I can't even begin to try to claim to know most of like Canada's geography. Yeah, but again, these people are all deranged. So basically, everybody he associated with through the Slack channels for Obsidian, they all see the same way. They all have the same politics. They all have the same worldview. And that takes us to where we are today. West Canada's the concern. Ryan, I thought it was the eastern side. Maybe I got it backwards. Maybe he said he's in the eastern side, but it's in the liberal side. I don't know. If that's true, then I got it backwards. I'm drinking coffee, man. We got coffee. Although I don't think my alerts are turned on. Hang on a second. Let me get that for you.
Presents are the best
there we go.
To show someone how much you care. It is like this tangible thing that you can point to and say, "Hey, man, I love you. This many dollars worth."
What are you drinking?
Also, do you know the Japanese version of Elden Ring and Dark Souls have male and female compared to... Oh, so they don't do the body type A and B. I know I shouldn't be drinking coffee this late at night. It just sounded good. And the minute my daughter, because I have her like make it for me, because I have the little K-cups, the refillable ones, I grind my own coffee, then she just puts it in there and puts it in the coffee machine. The minute she started running that, my sides started to kind of cramp up. I'm like, yeah, probably not a great idea to be drinking coffee, but oh well. You only live once, right? Oh, I can't help it. I've had 3 cups of coffee and a cup of tea today. And somehow I still manage to sleep, even if it's like 6 hours or so. But thanks for the 2, buddy. Appreciate it. So, anyways, apparently today we have this article from Smash JT, and I know he made a video on it, talking about how the art director has confirmed, not the game director has confirmed that there's going to be a lot of jank. What we see as, you know, jank in certain games like Stalker 2 or even Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where they call it Euro jank. Yeah, she said apparently it's not going to run smoothly, and that's some of the charm, I guess. I don't know. But that's this Carrie Patel person. And we are just going to watch Sun Grand Studios' video on it because I have not watched it yet, and I wanted to watch it on the way home from work. I'm like, nope, I'm just going to save it. We'll watch it together because I'm sure he's got some great insight, especially as a game developer. Oh, coffee's fantastic. Lugia, was up the sky, my roof. How are you, buddy? By the way, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 runs well on console, so they're happy too. I gotta tell you guys, I told all of you that I was worried about how Kingdom Come was gonna run on my computer because my graphics card is 5 years old and it's below the recommended specs. But you know, honestly, on low settings, I seem to have very few issues. Very few issues. The southern coast of British Columbia is more liberal. Central Canada, Ontario, Quebec is more liberal right now. The prairies are often more conservative, but generally mixed. A mixed bag across the country. Well, that's just Canada. I mean, Canada's Canada. And like I said, kind of like Australia, Canada's not real. So it just doesn't matter. Oh, guys, if you, speaking of politics, I did a video from work today talking about the, oh crap, I'm sorry, my brain's mush. You gotta give me a second. Somebody filed a claim that apparently the governor of Pennsylvania was aware of or involved in the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania on Trump. And I covered that in my video on the podcast channel. So go check that out later if you guys are interested. It's a very crazy story. I don't think anything's going to come of it, but it is very interesting if you're into politics and conspiracy theories and all that good stuff. Just gay North Dakota. Exactly. Yep. 100%. All right, so let's go ahead and watch Sungrand's video because I've been dying to watch it. This guy is one of my favorite YouTubers. He's just so chill. He's so positive. Even when he rebukes people, he does it in such a nice way that I imagine, like, I couldn't even be mad if he called me out on my shit. Just the way that he talks to people is just great. All the Great White North? Yeah, pretty much. Let me make sure the volume is up before I hit play.
Thank you for joining me today.
We got it. We're good.
My name is Jarrell. I make a living as a full-time games developer. I also have certification in training and assessment, so I can teach software development and video game development at Cert 4 level.
Great White North.
Today we will discuss the director of the upcoming game, Avowed. Now, if it seems like I'm not in a good mood today, you are very perceptive. Congratulations. That is because I've spent hours researching and looking up this person, Patel. And
which is crazy because this guy, like I said, he always has such a happy demeanor. He's usually like a very positive guy. Even if he has to reprimand people, he tends to be very like upbeat. Well, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna see. I haven't, to be honest, most of the time that I spent looking into Obsidian back when I was covering Avowed before everything kind of like, I've been mentally drained the last month or so, guys. So investigative stuff, looking into all sorts of like other studios and the consulting companies and everything else. It's been really hard, especially as busy as I've been. And I got baseball season around the corner with my kids. So I haven't had the time to really dig into this person here. So I'm hoping that Jarrell's got some good information in this video.
I do not enjoy looking up and researching people like this, because this is a diversity hire who is in a high position for game development and does not belong there. It is frustrating for me to have to see the situation, and I want to explain this to you in fully. There are many people out there who want to get...
Man, sounds like he's got a bit of a cold. I'm going to switch to the main screen because it'll fill this a little bit better. There we go.
...into game development, and so I want to share with you the most important parts about game development and how this person, Patel, who I have seen from interviews and doing more research into her, has zero competence when it comes to game development, and she is conducting interviews spreading misinformation about game development. And
well, to be honest, that sounds like most most heads of a lot of studios in the AAA industry these days. And I know a lot of people who are in the director's position of studios. They probably have a certain amount of game development experience. Obviously, that's the field that they're in, far more than me, obviously. But I just feel like anymore, it doesn't seem that it needs to be a requirement to actually have hands-on experience to be the boss in an industry. I mean, it's just crazy, you know? Hey, Desert, how's it going, buddy? I like the guy, that guy who's explaining the hyperdimension Neptunia debacle. I don't think I saw that one.
And that is very dangerous for the future of the games industry, because if people take her words to heart and believe what she says, it will result in...
If you guys didn't see Oblithian's comment, he says, I find it amusing these folks don't see the contradiction in their worldview when this man is calling out a Caucasian with colorful hair as a diversity hire.
A further downfall of the games industry. We cannot afford to let the industry get worse than it already is right now. So today I will be addressing this topic from a purely educational standpoint. I am not here to insult or attack Carrie Patel. I'm here to speak facts and share important information with you, and that is all. I personally did not want to cover this topic. I'm not interested in this title. I have no interest in cultivating hatred or aggression towards the game or the studio, but I recently found out that Obsidian is hunting down and threatening leakers within their studio. These leakers have been sharing information regarding the bad state of the working environment. These people are trying to make their studio better so their game can be better, but the management at Obsidian is so incompetent and insecure about themselves that they think silencing people will fix their problems.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing about leakers that I find interesting. So, obviously, when you have a bad studio full of bad people, and they're doing bad things, and you have people that are within that studio who are like, I gotta do something, but I can't. I'm at risk of losing my job. It's obviously morally good for them to reach out and speak out. But in a weird way, I don't exactly like, I don't fault a company for telling people stop leaking information or we're gonna fire you. Like, honestly, if it was like trade information, like proprietary information, something where it's like, look, this is our top secret information. When you can't share this with other people, if we catch you, sharing it, we're going to fire you. I could understand the position of the company saying, don't leak or you're gone, right? That's a reasonable approach. At the same time, it's like the morally acceptable thing to do is if you're at this studio and you feel like the studio is spiraling and they're going in the wrong direction and they won't listen to you because you are a straight white man, what else are you supposed to do, How a company handles leakers says a lot. Well, I think it depends on what the leak is. So, for example, when I covered Life is Strange Double Exposure, I was speaking to somebody who was a developer at the company, and he was like, dude, look into all these people. There's this crazy shit going on here. I can't say anything because they already have me under the microscope. I could talk a little more freely about it now. I'm not going to name who it was, but he was saying how, like, I've already been under the microscope. They think that I was the person that did X, Y, or Z, and I wasn't. So just maybe leave me out of it, but here's some information to look into. Like, there are legitimately people who are unable to speak out within their own company because they know if I say anything, I'm going to be on the chopping block, right? Yeah, but Candace, 100%. Like, trade information, proprietary information, very different than, hey, this is a terrible situation we're in. Somebody's got to say something. And that's where I said, where it's the morally acceptable thing to do versus just, trying to leak company secrets. No family at a company. If the company's buying, burning money, it needs to be, yeah, no, for real. It's, God, NS. I'm trying to read Black Cat's comment and I'm glancing at yours like, holy shit. No, but a company is not a family. It's true. So your loyalty doesn't extend beyond what is reasonable to ask somebody to do for a fair paycheck. Unless that proprietary info is criminal. True, that's also a good point. My fairy princess who wakes me up daily was replaced by obese black trans thing, and that's how I knew Burger Man was online. Hey, I'm glad that it worked for you, whatever happened. That's cool. I've applied for a job there. Now I wouldn't be surprised if I was rejected for my skin color. Yeah.
So instead of silencing people, they should be fixing the problems, but they lack the competence to do that.
And that's another thing. That's where he's 100% right. Instead of, fixing the issues that's causing people to want to leak the information anyways, they're just going to go rush headlong into the same shit they've already been doing.
I will not issue a warning to Obsidian for threatening their whistleblowers, and so I will leave it there. Let's take a look at Carrie Patel. Carrie worked as a writer on Pillars of Eternity and 2 Outer Worlds games. She worked in transfer pricing in Ernst & Young for 2 years. Now she is the director of Avowed. This, again, is being developed by Obsidian, the studio with the art director who wants to replace all white men with diversity hires and has openly expressed hiring based on race.
Trolling Taylor or roasting Harry and Meghan, which was the bigger W? Personally, okay, so with Taylor Swift, he's like, oh, you know, she got booed. It was a worse day for her than the Kansas City Chiefs. Harry and Meghan, it was like, oh yeah, she's horrible. I can't imagine being married to that woman. I would say Taylor Swift, because nobody gives a shit about Harry and Meghan. Taylor Swift, you know, most popular singer on the planet, if you believe what everybody tells you. So I would say Taylor Swift was far more meaningful. I am not a fairy princess. How dare you? The one from Europe you were thinking of. NS is our resident Limey, our British chap in the chat. Yeah, hearing people boo Swift was pretty great. And the look, she literally did the meme, the whole, like the monkey puppet thing, kind of like looking from side to side like, uh-oh.
Skin color. Now, Ms. Patel, I genuinely hope I don't offend this person, because this is a studio that hires people from a certain point of view where they like to make up fun words for replacing their pronouns. So I'm a little uncomfortable using pronouns to describe
I
Ms.
have not
Patel,
Patriot.
Or I'm uncomfortable already addressing, because this person has probably made up a fun gender for themselves. These people are prone to responding to real-world stimuli with emotional breakdowns and tantrums, and I do not wish to cause anyone any psychological duress. So, I will attempt to avoid referring to Patel with pronouns, as these people are constantly making up new ones, and I cannot honestly, realistically be expected to keep up with all of this.
Well, I think she's a she/her, isn't she? Or watch someone play it on YouTube. That means that actually I have to remember to try to watch somebody play it on YouTube, which I'm really terrible about. Did YouTube delete your comment? I can see it. Your opinions on Taylor Swift you keep to yourself, lest people think you're writing a script for a cheap, yeah. No, that one came through as far as I know.
This rapidly.
Hey, dude, it's tough. So I thought if it appears in Streamlabs chat but not on my YouTube chat up here, that it's not visible to YouTube viewers. I've had people say, oh no, I saw that even though I didn't see it in YouTube chat. So dude, it's iffy. It's 50-50. Like, I have no idea.
Evolving nonsense. So, Patel's skills as a writer or in the financial sector do not translate into game development or director for a game project. I can say this definitively, as I have developed and shipped a number of commercial titles across the Nintendo 3DS, Wii U, Switch, and mobile.
What do you guys think about that? I'm very curious, because I have some mixed feelings on whether or not. Okay, this is going to be kind of like a haphazard, you know, amalgamation of different thoughts going on in my head. But a director of a game, you would hope that they have some sort of games development experience, whether it's actual coding of a game or understanding how different mechanics work within games themselves, or what makes a game good, what kind of art style you need for a game, who to hire, who to bring on, who's going to make the game the best they possibly can to ship it and make as much money as possible. So all those things being said, you obviously want somebody who has some sort of experience on the ground actually making a game from the ground up, you know, having that in their back pocket as far as like their work experience goes. Is that necessary though? If they understand profit and loss, reasonable amount of time it should take to make a game, how to allocate enough responsibilities to the right people, do they need game development experience to actually make that happen, or can just somebody who's good at management do it without having games experience? Hey, Hampton, how's it going? Which should be the default top chat, which censors more? I don't know. I click on it through Streamlabs and it brings me up a browser where I can start polls and all that kind of stuff. I have no idea. I don't have YouTube open on my browser. Welcome to the dredges of humanity. It's not that bad in here, Oblivion. Hey, Geekazu, how's it going? Half type a comment and the comment vanishes like the money given to US aid. Oh, dude, fair. That's an apt description. Is gay banned? No, you can say gay. Oh, but homo's banned. Can I say homo? I'm not calling anybody homo, I'm just saying it. Anybody who's director position to overlook games must have experience creating games, is how I feel. I think that's a fair way to feel. I'm just curious. I don't even know how to make games of Warhorse on my base list, at least for now. Dude, that's why I'm no longer using the word based, because I just feel like the word no longer has any meaning. If I recall, Kojima doesn't know how to code when he started, someone fact check me. We're the leftovers from the Kool-Aid everyone else drank. Dude, man, you're really bringing me down here.
Platforms. I've also worked creating free homebrew games on legacy older platforms such as the Pokemon Mini, Game Boy Color, etc. So I can speak as an authority on what it takes to see a project from the conceptual stage all the way through to development to shipping it. Let's compare Patel to the director of Skyrim, Todd Howard. Let's follow his career leading up to his role as director. So in 1995, Todd Howard...
I'm a little mixed, okay? I'm a little mixed. YouTube be like, say homo no, be homo good. I'm a little like, I've got mixed feelings on this. Do gamers like Todd Howard, or do gamers not like Todd Howard? Because I'm kind of in the, I didn't really play much of like the Fallout games and stuff. I'm not really like I tried Starfield and I thought it sucked. I thought it was boring as hell. I even bought an M2 SSD for my motherboard just so I could make the game run smoothly. And then when I installed it and booted the game up, I'm like, wow, this is boring. Okay, so you loathe Todd Howard? Kind of a joke. No homo. You can say no homo. That's cool. You're gay for hot women. How does that work? How can you be Nightcore? You have male parts, I assume. The master Uguay levels of wisdom apart. Remember, you can't say I go without saying I. Gin Freak says I avoid Bethesda made games. Todd is full of crap. Okay, so the general consensus then is that Todd is bad. We don't like Todd. I like Todd more. Okay. Ooh, you guys are cracking me up here. I'm glad I didn't have to like think too hard about preparing for tonight, because I just don't have it in me. He's a meme. If anyone genuinely loves or hates him, it's either because they're too online or because they genuinely love games that he ruined. Fair. I think that's a good opinion to have. Hey, John, how's it going tonight, dude?
It started with Terminator Future Shock as production and additional design. As we go through the years, Todd's roles move from production design to additional...
I gotta say something. As a short guy, as somebody who on stage next to... who was it? Troy Baker, I think is who he was on stage with before Harrison Ford came out at the Game Awards. I gotta say, as somebody who is also short, I still think I wouldn't look as comically short as Todd Howard on stage. I don't know why, but he just seems like a straight up midget, you know?
Design to project leader. This is an excellent role to take, as it means you have to understand all of your team members. You have to be able to communicate and know what it takes.
Todd Howard, the director of Bugs, I like that. Does it have no pronouns have no impact? So dude choosing she, her is still referred to as a dude. I didn't test that out in Starfield. Is that the same way? Like if you pick different pronouns in Starfield, do they still call you a he or a she?
To take a project from just the vision of what the director sees to make it a functional product. He moves from project leader, which again is a vital role that gives you vital skills.
Hang on a second. Before she moves, guys, my daughter and I, we were playing Apex Legends, which I hate. She makes me play it with her. And so my daughter was sitting on the couch, and the little girl cat we have, Ivy, who's half the weight of her brother, half the size, decided to lay down. And I don't think you can see her unless I move my chair. But she laid on my daughter's lap for a minute, and she never does that. She's been super lovey the last few days because it's gotten cold here. She's currently like laying in the crack between the couch cushions. I'm gonna go full screen and see if you guys can see her back there. Hang on. Let me move my chair. Sitting right, hang on, back here. This thing right here is a little 6-pound cat that's just kind of like curled up with her head twisted sideways. Looks like someone broke her neck. But yeah, she's happy. I wish I could sleep like that. She never does this. Like, she'll come out here and lay on the rug or whatever, sometimes in the... Oh, her brother's sleeping up here in the cloud behind me. We call it the cloud. The little... You can see this little thing here. He's sleeping up here. Can't see him, though. Todd Howard started microtransactions with the horse armor. Oh, microtransactions with horse armor. That's some shady shit right there.
Understanding in game development, he moves to executive producer, where he oversees basically the whole production of the product. He does this for a number of years before he moves on to game director. As you can see, Todd Howard has the experience and the skills necessary to be an effective...
Well, we call it the cat tree, but we call this part here, because it's higher up, we call that his cloud, because it's like he's just kind of like floating up there, you know? Supreme contentment. That's 100% what she's got going on. Not a care in the world.
Game director. He was not just handed the role because of being a diversity hire. He cultivated his skills, he built up experience over the years. Let's again compare that to Carrie Patel's timeline of reaching the game director role. Carrie was a writer for Pillars of Eternity, a writer for 2 Outer Worlds games, and then the director of Avowed. Again, writing is not game development. It does not give you an understanding or experience in game development. Writing and game development are 2 extremely different, highly specialized fields. A game director must have a very strong understanding.
Playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 while watching. Hey, there you go. Multitasking. Don't ride your horse off a cliff, just saying. Let me scroll up, NS. I might have just missed it. If I ever stand next to Ben Shapiro, and God forbid, if I'm shorter than him, I'm throwing myself in. It's all over. To be fair, I might not be much taller, if at all, than Ben Shapiro. He and I might see on the same level, although I wouldn't like... I don't like Ben Shapiro. I'm not going to get into that.
Of not just the game development process, but also a basic level understanding of every single aspect of game development, whether it comes to programming, the creation of graphical assets, animations, audio, all of those things. The director must have some understanding of all of those.
Right, so this goes back to my previous question, like a person that's good at people management, project management, somebody who's good at least making people like get their job done in a timely manner, if they don't understand truly like all these different pieces of what makes game development work, they're not going to have any chance at delivering a good game. Even if you hire the best people, like you could get the best musicians together, but if the conductor sucks, it's going to sound like crap, you know? Let me see. Rise of the Ronin's coming out a few days earlier. Team Ninja announced this purposely at the last minute because their game wasn't the best on PS5. Yeah, I saw something about Rise of the Ronin. To be fair, I probably wouldn't bother purchasing it because I have to play through Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and that's going to take me half my life. And then I've still got Black Myth Wukong to finish, Shadow of the Erd Tree. There's that other Japanese, Chinese-inspired game that I saw some gameplay from that looks fantastic. We got Doom Dark Ages coming out in May, which looks really good. Hello from Chechnya. Hey, how's it going, Edby? He's allegedly 5'9". People say he's full of BS. 5'9"? I'm not 5'9". I'm not close to 5'9". Game's great so far. I'm having Trav, honestly, last night I was just chilling. I couldn't think to make a video. I wasn't in the mood. And I'm just sitting out here for an hour and a half playing through it, and I'm like, I'm genuinely enjoying the game. So let me see. It's not that they can't learn, but that there'd be better candidates who don't have to. Right. So again, it's not just about knowing how to manage people, it's knowing what makes the game development actually flow.
If the game is broken in some way, let's say there is some mechanical jank, if your director does not know anything about how a game is put together, about how a game is programmed, then how can the director lead the staff? No matter how talented or skilled the staff is, how do you expect the developer
no way, he's 5'9",
to be able
probably
to complete their task? How do you expect the director to lead and say, oh, well, this is why this is broken. This is why it's not working. Here's how you solve that problem. the director should be able to do that. The director should be able to point out, oh, well, you must have this wrong with the programming. This must be the issue here. So that's how you should approach this topic in order to fix the issue. But
I was 5'9", then the military told me I'm 5'6". What happened to those other 3 inches, man? How'd that happen? See, I've always been around 5'6". So for me, I just know once I get really old, I'm going to be down to like 5'4". Once all the bones like start to curve and everything shrivels up, but it is what it is. I don't care. I still have little old ladies at the store ask me to get something off the top shelf for them, and I'm that person. I'll just climb up there and get it. It's never stopped me from doing anything.
if your game director has zero experience and does not belong in a game director role because they have zero experience as a game director or zero experience in game development, how can they be a game director? So Patel says you got to expect a little jank to do something new and creative. To be very clear here, when people refer to jank, they are referring to the break in immersion or expectation in regards to the presentation or mechanical functionality of a video game.
All right, so here's the thing. Do you think, in a situation with my computer, which is needing, an updated graphics card to really compete with like current modern AAA games, right? In order to properly play one of these games on my computer, especially if I'm going to stream it, is Stalker 2 the issues I ran into where the game would, a lot of stuttering and lag, and I had to turn everything down to low, and even then it didn't run great? Is that an issue with my software, hardware, everything else going on, or is that part of the whole jank? Because I know jank, we've seen it with bugs. Even Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has some of that jank to it, with a few of the issues, glitches, and stuff here and there. Stalker 2 felt like it just didn't run well on anybody's computer that I talked to. I saw a lot of people online say, "Oh, I've got a 4090 and this thing runs like crap." And it's like, okay, so it's coffee. Everyone's asking what I'm drinking. I don't drink liquor, especially I'll do occasional drinks like at a decent time. With my nerve issues I've got from my injured back, I can't drink alcohol too often. How is it ill-advised? I have to be able to think. And you could ask NS. I'm borderline retarded. It's hard to think in 4 words,
Again, jank is the break in immersion or expectation in regards to the presentation or mechanical functionality of a video game. Here are the causes of jank. Number 1, the scope and design requirements overwhelmingly exceed the abilities of the developers. If the game is too big, if the game is asking for too much, and the developers lack the talent and skill to be able to execute on those ideas, you will see jank in the game. Number 2, the game engine is broken. Avowed is being created on the Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, Unreal Engine 5, that's another thing. But I'm curious what Jarrell says, because I've asked people this before. Is Unreal Engine 5 bad, or is it that people don't know how to use it properly? Because remember, we played through Hellblade 2, and that game ran okay. I didn't have performance issues on my computer. It just didn't run well, if that makes sense. Coffee addicts can't see someone drinking and don't drink it too. Am I making you drink coffee? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. It's only like 10:30 my time. I know I'm going to be up for another hour and a half, maybe, if things run late. So it just helps me stay alert, I guess. I don't know. UE5 is the mark of incompetence when AAA studios use it. Stalkers always had problems with performance. Yeah, that's what they famously said. It's got that Euro jank, Well, mine's a 5900, but no, I didn't. Because my previous processor, remember, was a 36 Ryzen 5 3600. There's no way that I could run my Stalker on that processor. I doubt it. UE5 has less stuttering than Unreal Engine 4, but 5 looks so boring across games because they all look the same. They all have this very weird uncanny valley feel to them. It's like they got to the point where things are so close to realistic, borderline hyper-realistic, but at the same time, you just know that there's something off about it. 2 p.m. here says about time. Oh, there you go. See, for me, by 2 p.m., I'm craving that afternoon, evening tea that I usually have. Normally, for me, I drink a couple cups of coffee in the morning. I'll have a tea in the evening, and that's it. But when I stream on Mondays, it's usually like, yeah, when my daughter, before she goes to bed, I'm like, why don't you give me another cup of coffee? Just to help push me through, you know? Bit of both. People who taught UE5 don't learn how to create an engine, so they're missing core dev skills. I mean, that's something that we saw Daniel Vavra and Warhorse talk about because they know a lot about what's going on at CD Projekt Red, is that CD Projekt Red had a lot of people who didn't know how to use UE5 properly. 7:30, dang, that's what time I gotta get up tomorrow. I have to get to work at a decent time tomorrow. But no, I did not play it before I swapped processors. It's not user-friendly. Yeah, my son downloaded it to his computer. He knows nothing about coding. I'm like, dude, you just have no idea what you're doing. It's so far over your head. I gotta figure out how to teach him all about C++, and I know nothing about it. Games you guys know that made on UE5 and can call decent. I'm trying to think what I've played recently that might have been on UE5. The Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is on the Cry engine, which runs really well. So I know that one's not UE5. I can't think of a positive one. Hey, Big Ship.
If you are not aware of this, that is probably one of the best game engines in the world. It is extremely good. The problem is it's a little too powerful for children who have very little experience with game development.
He just called these people children.
If you put a child in control of, say, for example, a semi-truck, sure, they might...
Okay, I love it. This guy is so passive-aggressive. It's fantastic. He really cracks me up because he's all like, I don't want to hurt any feelings. I'm not here to cause psychological trauma. And then he straight up calls the developers children. Like, holy crap. Then we had some decent courses on the Unity and Unreal engines. I'll have to look them up. It's not optimized if you consider getting bottlenecks in towns. Game had a few patches to relieve that problem. I haven't tried playing it again. I uninstalled it because I'm never going to get back to it, and I wanted to make some room on my SSDs.
Might be able to drive a semi-truck, but they will eventually crash it. That is what we are seeing when people with very little experience think that they are grown-ups and try to handle a powerful game engine. That will result in jank. That will result in your semi-truck crashing. Cause number 3 for jank. The development period is too short for the project given the resources. I do not know anything about the development period for Avowed, but it seems that the director has plenty of time to go and...
Avowed, I think somebody said Avowed is like a 4-year project, isn't it? I think they announced it back in 2020. So I imagine it's close to at least 4 or 5 years for the actual development time of the game.
Conduct interviews with YouTube channels. So I'm not sure how much time they have to fix the issues, but in general, if your development period is too short, you have too much content in the game to create, generally that leaves you much less time to fix the issues. This will result in jank. So when you see jank in video games, which we defined earlier in this video, you will see that is generally the result of a combination of these 3 elements. Lastly, we will dispute and explain the logical fallacy of Patel when Patel says, you gotta expect a little jank to do something new and creative.
I love it. This is straight up, I think Smash JT said it on his video today. This is straight up the whole, it's not a bug, it's a feature kind of mentality. And it just cracks me up because I'm like, why do we, I get that if you look at like the Cyberpunk 2077 situation, I watched a lot of videos covering Cyberpunk at the time. Even though I never played the game, I was very curious about everything going on around it, right? I had no interest in playing the game. But because I was a big fan of The Witcher 3, I was like, okay, well, I like CD Projekt Red. They're cool guys, cool studio, whatever. And a lot of the issues they ran into was the company that they outsourced all their bug department to, as far as like catching all the bugs and reporting them, basically screwed around, didn't have enough people working, and reported a bunch of little bugs because it was the easiest thing to do rather than go and finding the big bugs that CD Projekt Red needed to actually fix. And then, of course, you had the CEO and the C-suite people pushing the game, out to the public before the game was even ready. And the developers like, no, we need more time. And they're like, no, we're going to release the game anyways. You can patch it later, right? So a lot of things led to that mess. But yeah, this kind of mentality just cracks me up. Let me see. All right, Ryan, take it easy, dude. Think UE5 games will only be coming later. Everything what goes out UE5 is Rust, yeah. Being precise with his language, his comparison is a good one. UE5 is a powerful engine, but people who use it lack experience. They're most modern ideologues. Turn out to be a new meme. Oh, yeah. 100%. So, Geek, I find it funny because a lot of people who were very critical of Cyberpunk at launch all came back and said, oh, Phantom Liberty fixed the game, that DLC made it all worth it, blah, blah, blah. And I've heard nothing but great things about Phantom Liberty, right? But you don't really hear a whole lot about like the actual bugs, the glitches, the things that need to be fixed, right? So the game's too big, they can't fix it, you guess. So despite all this wonderful amount of new content they put out there, they still can't get it fixed. Expect a little jank. Dude, Oblivion, I told you, I have a lot of ideas.
Wrong.
I need to actually get figured out.
I want to be as kind as possible when I say that this is only said by people who lack the ability to be creative and create something new. I can say this definitively, as I've met many people throughout my life, many who are powerful creators and people who think they are creators but are simply not capable of creating anything new. This is the kind of nonsense that is said by people who just lack the ability to create anything new. So what is required to create something new and creative? Number one, and probably most important, meaningful life experiences. If you want to create something new and experience, you must live a full life.
So, okay, people talk about the slippery slope, and people talk about, if this game came out today, people would criticize. And we've talked about that on Discord, about certain games that people would look at and go, oh my god, that game's so woke, and if it came out 10 years ago, nobody had a problem with it. I think that there are certainly elements of Cyberpunk from what I've seen. Again, I didn't play through the story, I don't know anything about the actual dialogue, but just the way the game was marketed, advertised, where they have the billboard in the game, I guess, with the woman with the giant schlong in her pants, right? So it was very much, I think, targeted advertising to give people a certain perception of the game, whether it was meant to be like you can have full creative control, or it's a fully immersive RPG, do whatever you want to, whether that means swapping out body parts, go for it. So beyond that, I'm not sure about specific things that would lend to being called woke, obviously. But again, I would imagine the game probably leans in that direction, just from what I've seen. Have a blue hair relief on the shirt. It was, that's things people have always said it was a good game after they fixed the bugs. Yeah, certainly, give me a list later. Games Foundation is awful CP. What does that mean? I hate when people talk like that about Kingdom Deliverance 2 without even knowing what's in the game. Well, Edby, here's the thing. There are people who have run with a lot of things and gone too far with it. I think that there are fair criticisms to have, but I do believe that people are taking small things and stretching them as far as they can because we are so hypersensitive to everything being either DEI injected nonsense or woke crap. And we'll get into that more later, but my wife and I were talking about this earlier, about the reality is the DEI stuff in government, in businesses, in marketing and advertising, in how they hire and how they discriminate against people who don't fit the DEI bill of you got to be gay, LGBT, not white, not straight, all these things. It has created more racism and bigotry. Not to blame. I'm not calling anybody racist. I'm saying if you feel like you're more racist than you were 10 years ago, it's not your fault. It's because of all the DEI crap. So people are more hypersensitive to it. I know that I'm far more bigoted, if you will, than I probably was 10 years ago. And I've always been, I've always been an asshole. No, but for real, it's like, unfortunately, call it the woke agenda, call it DEI, call it some sort of ideological shift in media and the way that things are marketed and how they hire and just the general level of quality of things that are put out there to consume, and you go, why is everything so bad now? It has genuinely been because of the diversity initiatives in everything in life, in media, in hiring, in companies and corporations, in video games and whatnot. And that has made everybody very sensitive to it, very sensitive. And it's not your fault if we're overly sensitive to it and people pick up on things that maybe aren't necessarily woke, but they think they are. I don't blame people for that. I just think it's time we need to maybe figure out like a where the actual, like, everyone's got that gaydar, right, for the gay radar pickup on things. Maybe our wokedar needs to be readjusted, I don't know. Let me see, some of the dialogue options definitely shift Cyberpunk that way. Go to bed on time. Oblivion, I think you need to worry about you going to bed on time. I'm not going to bed on time. And I know that you're up way later than I am. Cyberpunk is woke, but it's expectable. It's not expectable, but yeah, the writing Cyberpunk, especially in the DLC, is meh. How to create something new and creative? Just be Corinne Bush, but be on the opposite and make good. Yeah, just do everything that Corinne didn't do. Corinne was that fervent, making D.A. Velgar to inject his agenda into the game, create a game from the opposite side of it. What was Corinne's actual birth name? It wasn't Andrew, was it? Yeah, it was Andrew Bush, I think. For that excuse, let me see. I understand it. It will affect how much they push you for that, excuse me, shit in America. No, it is shit. You're right. Oy vey. Yeah. It's bad for them. I don't care. If it's bad for mine, I care. I think that's how most people are. Most of us, it's like,
You must have.
I don't want to tell other people around the world how to live, but I think we should, as a society, be able to have certain standards we can all agree on. Good world building, story writing, and player choice came first before wokeness, hardly forced, which made it okay. I mean, like I've said before, I'm on record saying, do I care if a game has a gay optional romance? I do not care. Will I play it? No, because I don't want to play gay content. But do I care if the option exists in the game? No, I don't. Do I understand the controversy around Henry being gay in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Yes, he was straight in the first game. Does it mean that it ruins the game for me? No, because I'll play him straight. But do I understand why people feel like that the gamers were betrayed because the community manager at the time, one of the developers, said on that Reddit thread, he's straight, he's a Christian, he's not going to be gay in this game? Yes, I understand why people feel betrayed by that. It still doesn't ruin the game for me. So again, this whole wokeness and the Kingdom Come conversation has been so mentally draining that I told you guys already, it's affected my ability to think clearly about other topics and make videos and articles on it, and it's affected even my desire to even play the game to some extent, even though the game's fantastic from everything I've played so far. So
have many complex, deep, and rich life experiences, which means you are out in the world experiencing life and all of its difficulties, meeting other people, learning new things, and having difficult experiences and learning from them. This sharpens your ability to understand the world and
no, Blu-ray, I think that was a cop-out. To be honest, I think the whole he wasn't gay in the first game because the budget constraints, I think that I said before in a video, I think covering this, the whole budget constraints made him straight in the first game. I think that was bullshit, to be honest.
Communicate with people. Number 2, natural talent. To create something new and creative, I hate saying this, but some people just have the genetic disposition to be able to create something new and creative. Number 3, skill that is highly developed. People can overcome the lack of talent by brute forcing, by developing their skill. There is only so far you can take your abilities if you lack a certain level of talent, but with...
This gets into a much more controversial topic than just video games. I just see you guys talking about genetics and race, and we're not going to get into all that. I'm not going to talk eugenics when we're discussing this stuff here. However, I think just as humans go, and this is not like to any one race or ethnicity or sexuality or any of those other like ideological beliefs, just on a personal level, people, when it comes to human beings on a person-to-person level, there are some people who are just not skilled. There are some people who are just unable to learn. There are some people who just cannot think outside of their own like limited amount of intellect that they have. They don't have the ability to absorb information and learn how to do something new. I'm not a genius, but I know that I can learn how, if I'm properly taught or if I have time to teach myself, anything that I need to know how to do, I can learn, okay? I've learned how to do things I never did before in the last 5 years of my life, a bunch of different things. So you're only as smart as you allow yourself to be. There are some people, though, that just seem to, whether it's some innate thing where they can't allow themselves to learn or they're just incapable of it, that are just not skilled, that just can't be properly developed when it comes to certain things, right? Patriots comment got censored. That's funny. Jarrell's correct. You can work hard, make something good, but you need talent to make something great. 100%. You have to have the skill. And if you're not capable of learning the skill, then you have no business having that job in the first place. If you are limited in your skill, but your intellect is at a level where you can learn new skills and develop it, I don't know how much of that is fixed or poor upbringing. I'm curious, but they won't test that. Yeah, they won't test that for... like I said, I don't want to get into the eugenics conversation, guys. I don't want to make it about race or ethnicity or that kind of stuff, because there are plenty of intelligent people of different ethnicities. However, I do think that, unfortunately, whether it's environmental, whether it's genetic, whether it's some sort of chemical that you ingested in utero, something limits certain people's ability to process and create, intelligent thought and learn new skills more than other people. Like, I know people within family and friends groups and stuff where you start talking to them and you try to explain something and the eyes glaze over. And it's not just like that they have no interest in it. It's that they can't comprehend what it is you're saying or trying to explain to them, And so again, I think in a lot of these situations, someone goes, oh, I want to make video games. That sounds cool. And then they get there and they don't know how to actually apply any of the knowledge that they have because they're without skill. They're without talent.
An immense amount of effort, you can push your skills to extremely high levels, and they will allow you to create something new and creative.
Ambition without IQ is trying to get your Fiat to run a 5-second mile.
Number 4, extremely high self-awareness. If you are not good at creating something new and creative, you will end up just copying things without realizing it. You think you are creating something new, but all you are doing is subconsciously drawing upon things that you are already familiar with, sort of hitting a randomizer button. And
oh man, he's touching on all the topics. Extremely high self-awareness. A lot of these people have very, very low self-awareness. You come from family musicians. Even if you're separated at birth, you're more likely to have a talent for music. I mean, my family's musical. I learned how to play the guitar, but not very well. But like other things. So one of my brothers, the one who's in the military, he flies helicopters. He fixes cars. He taught himself how to sew. He had a wood lathe at one point, so he could do like all sorts of like woodwork. Like the guy, he's completely, I mean, he's kind of autistic in my personal opinion. I think he's got Asperger's, but he's very skilled at a lot of different things, and he even learned how to play the guitar too. So he was also musical. So, I mean, I am not nearly to the skill level that my brother is when it comes to learning how to do certain things, but this is where I say, I know that if I spent the time, I could learn how to do different skills.
And mixing all those things together, and you think you create something new. You will hear incompetent people talking about just use your inspiration to create something new. I can tell you definitively that is from incompetent people who do not actually understand what it takes to create something new. If you lack self-awareness, you will not be able to create something new. You'll just copy things. Number 5, you require extreme...
Oh, I think he knows it. He's very socially awkward, but he's incredibly smart. So, genuinely, as far as like intellect goes, incredibly good student when he was in college and school. Very terrible procrastinator. He would do like everything at the last minute the night before it was due. But when it came down to it, he was a straight A student and very highly intelligent. So,
extremely high cultural and historical awareness. You have to understand, in the space where you are creating, you have to understand what has come before, what exists on the landscape now, what has shaped people's expectation and understanding of the space in which you are creating, and what people expect now. If you do not understand those things on a deep level, you cannot create something new and creative. Lastly, what is required to create something new and creative is an understanding of the expectations and wants of the audience.
I swear to God, if a game developer, especially any of these big AAA studios, saw what he was saying here, they'd shit a brick. They'd be like, we can't give people what they want. We can't understand their expectations. All right, Patriot, have a good night, dude. Patriot's logic makes sense. How it makes sense, I cannot explain. All right, I'll check my DMs in a minute. See plenty of criticisms doesn't mean they're right. See, again, it's like, unfortunately, sometimes when you're grading intelligence or talent or skill, it's not always going to seem pretty. It's not always going to seem fair or kind. And that's where, unfortunately, DEI gets in the way, because you have to let the cream of the crop, the what do they say? It rises to the top, or whatever shit I'm thinking of. Oh, you know how my brain is right now, honey. I can't think. I've got 3 different analogies going on in my brain at the same time. Elon and Sam Altman, I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out. Sam Altman, that name sounds like somebody who has me blocked on Twitter. Dude, I find so many random accounts, like in threads, that I'll just be automatically blocked by. That's it. They're specifically set out to subvert expectations. That's the thing. Come on, we've seen this now for the last 10 or 15 years in Hollywood, where all of a sudden it became popular to try to subvert expectations. For it's like, I know what the audience is expecting. Let's give them the exact opposite of that, and they're gonna love it. And you go, no, I don't necessarily want to go and watch a movie that's like cookie cutter, paint by numbers, where you know exactly how it's gonna go. Like if it's a mystery and you want to be like suspense, you want to have like you want to be suspended till the end, right? So you want to be like anticipating, not knowing what's going to happen. But there's this thing where it's like, no, they intentionally do the worst possible thing because they think that that's going to somehow endear you to them. And it's absolutely crazy. Oh, it's Snow White, yeah. My intelligence, talent, and skill is graded on a curve similar to the lean of my... Hey, Wild, how's it going, buddy? I still have to incorporate that AI song you made into the intro. James Watson said the same thing I'm saying, and he's the guy who discovered DNA. That means everything else is wrong. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Rachel Zegler is one of those ones where it seems like that's the perfect example of a studio, a company that set out to subvert expectations for everybody involved.
You have to know exactly what people want, and you have to know how to deviate from that just enough to bring people something new that they don't expect, yet is similar enough to what their expectations are that they will still really enjoy it because they can identify this as existing in the space of the topic which they are looking for new media. So this is my professional assessment of the studio Obsidian. The marketing and PR department is utterly incompetent. The fact that they allow the art director like Matt Hansen and the game director Patel to go on these internet tirades, to go on these YouTube channels, to conduct interviews, to try to pass incompetence off as quirky adorkability. Oh, it's cute, it's fun, it's quirky, it's janky, you'll like it. That is. Can
you imagine spending $70? I'm going to grab a bottle of water. But can you imagine spending $70 or $95 on the Steelbook? NS, were you here when we talked about that? The Steelbook for this game, Avowed, which looks like a mid-level, kind of artsy-fartsy, typical fantasy RPG game, right? $95 for the Steelbook, and it's discless. It's a digital copy only, but you get a Steelbook with no disc in it, right? That's something. It's a good thing my apartment's not very big. It only takes me 20 seconds to walk to the kitchen, back, and get a bottle of water. Not enough alcohol on this planet that'll give me to find Rachel Zegler attractive. Dude, honestly, I don't understand the thinking behind Rachel Zegler and why people would cast her. I don't know. Steel tin can, yeah. But there's paper bag thick enough. No, you got to do is the double bagger. You got to put one bag on her head, one bag on yours in case hers rips. Avowed looks like cheese and the devs are nuts. Can't believe anyone would support the game. There's going to be, so it's number 12 right now on the bestseller list on Steam. Number 12. Outer Worlds 2, that's ambitious. But honestly, I don't see Avowed. Avowed's probably going to do ballpark around the same numbers as Dragon Age Velguard, which what it really comes down to is what the game actually costs to make, which again, estimate $200 million. I mean, it's a Game Pass day one launch title. So these games, especially 4 or 5 years of development from big studios, AAA studios, you're looking at probably an average of a couple $100 million easy. Not to mention when people play it on Game Pass, they're not making money on that. They're just not. Xbox is losing money on the games. Every time people pay for Xbox Live instead of, buying the game. And Obsidian's going to lose a lot of money because they're not going to sell a lot of copies because people are just going to play it on Game Pass. So it just is what it is, She's not even a butterface, she's just a butt. Rachel Zegler is just not, there's just, I don't know, there's just nothing there, I don't get it.
It's complete and utter incompetence from the marketing and PR department, so there is zero confidence there from the leadership in Obsidian. The director, Patel, lacks the experience necessary to sufficiently perform his or her required duties as a game director.
Well, and again, the thing I love about Game Pass is that I can get cheaper versions of it. So yeah, go to Instant Gaming if you use Game Pass, use my link, and buy a 3-month subscription through there, and it's like $27. It's $9 a month, roughly $9 or $10 after tax, right? And it gives me Game Pass for my PC and Game Pass for my kid's Xbox. And so, yeah, the library has a lot of shitty games, but it also gets day one titles. Like I'll play Doom: The Dark Ages, and it won't cost me anything out of pocket, other than my $10 a month that I've already paid. So, right there, those are sales the studios aren't making because Xbox is trying so hard to push this product that is losing them money. That it's this never-ending cycle. They're both losing money on the entire thing. You're right, it cannibalizes the game sales. Now, again, games that I really want to support, I'll buy. If the game turns out to be really good and I'll play it again, I'll probably purchase Doom at some point later on.
The fact that this studio is hunting down and threatening their whistleblowers is extremely worrying, and we only see that from studios who lack the competence to create a functional product to a degree that the audience expects.
So, Edby, I was going to cover that maybe if we had time tonight or in a video. Civilization 7, people are just not happy with. There's a lot of... Oh, gosh, sorry, all my alerts pop up all at once. She's the new Zendaya. Yeah, 100%. Civilization 7's got a lot of issues. Well, Candace, I don't think that did they announce it, or I think it's just a... Let me, give me one sec. Let me pull this up here. If I can find the tab. Because it's a Bethesda game, Bethesda is owned by Xbox. The reason they bought Bethesda was to have Game Pass day one games. So it's going to, I would bet money on it, it's going to be a day one title. Let me see here. I mean, Doom Eternal was. Doom Dark Ages, let's see here. I can pre-install it, coming soon to Game Pass. So yeah, day one. Comes out in 92 days. So yeah, I'll get to stream it. I'll get to play it on the channel here, and everybody will get to, either buy it for themselves, see if it's any good, or just, play it on Game Pass. It's kind of a win-win, to be honest. Yeah, so it's going to Game Pass. Again, that was part of the reason that Xbox bought Bethesda, as I understood at the time, is they were trying to beef up their online subscription library to combat PlayStation. Although, to be honest, PlayStation's online library, from what I've seen for PlayStation Plus, just doesn't seem like much. You don't know what it is thinking. Look, they're going to get a chunk of money from Microsoft. Is it going to be enough to counteract the lack of game sales? No, it's not. So in the Game Pass situation, both companies lose. Microsoft is losing a lot of money continuing to have Game Pass available, and companies that rent their games through Game Pass, essentially lease them out, are losing money on sales. It's I think for developers and publishers, maybe they look at it as we get a chunk of money now, and maybe down the road when the game's not on Game Pass anymore, people will buy it because of how fondly they remember the game. I don't know. I have not. I'm trying to think if there's a game that's been on Game Pass that they pulled off of Game Pass that I then went and bought on Steam. I don't think there was. I could be wrong. Yeah. So again, I think a lot of these developers, these publishers, these companies that are putting their games on Game Pass are simply thinking this will give us temporary money in hand, and then later on we'll get sales from it. Yeah, honestly, and like I said, I have no doubt that Doom is going to be a good game. It looks like it's going to be good. I enjoy Doom Eternal despite not being a huge Doom fan, and the Doom before it, 2016, it was okay too. I liked them both. It is part of Microsoft, so their expenses are not the same as Obsidian's. Yeah. Oh, you bought Power World on Steam. Dude, I thought about doing the same thing. Honestly, if I'd have thought I was actually going to play it more, I would have bought it, but yeah. We can't talk about that on YouTube, NS. I can't believe they let you even say that on YouTube. That's so funny. I guess if it was a Steam forum, that'd be different. You can't talk about pirating games on Steam. Oh yeah, Obsidian is part of Microsoft too, aren't they? Dude, it's so hard to remember. Back in 2021, I think is when they got this whole arms race going. The Microsoft and PlayStation were gobbling up every studio imaginable just to try to like beef up their online presence, their online play stores. So here's the thing. I do want to cover some of this Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 stuff, just because we have this update, and I'm not going to make a video on it, because I'm sick and tired of making videos and not being able to have a back and forth with people about this stuff, because there's a lot of serious allegations and shit that's happened over. Why am I still seeing John De La Rose on my YouTube? I unsubscribed from John De La Rose. I should not still be seeing him on my YouTube feed. How do you get somebody off of your YouTube recommendations? Can you block a channel? Can you actually block a channel? Here, check it out. I start talking about why is John De La Rose on my YouTube, and Smash JT comes in here. Hey, Smash, dude, it's only 11. You're here early tonight, man. What's the new Kingdom Come Deliverance updates? NS, have you been out of the loop for some of this stuff, dude? Anything relevant? There's basically, we've had the, I was gonna watch Smash's video on his secondary channel, because honestly, Fandom Pulse is setting themselves up to get sued for libel. Not even kidding. You can select don't recommend this channel, it works. Have you tried it on me? I'm sure a lot of people have. Famous furry and identity theft thief. Yeah, so I have not wanted to cover John De La Rose exclusively because of the fact that I feel no allegiance to the man, but because of the fact that I did write occasionally for Fandom Pulse, and I've had a more or less professional history with him the last year or so, I'm not going to go out of my way to like do a big live, long live stream trash on the guy. And I have nothing against, like, Smash has talked about him, Kata's talked about him. Like, if it's good for content, you guys go at it, go for it. The merrier for me personally. I just don't want to do that because for me personally, I'm in kind of a weird situation where it's like, no. You don't want to miss me. My stream ended the last time you... Dude, that's just the way it works. We're both West Coast, man. Took your bribe money. I'll be annoying Hypnotic in his next stream. I actually need to check out one of Hypnotic's streams.
Thank you very much,
I really need to.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Hey, Raziel, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it. Hard to prove damages. Yeah, that would be the hardest part. Now, okay, there's defamation and then there's libel. One of them requires there to be actual monetary damage. As far as I know, it's been a long time since I took any sort of law class. One requires damages, one doesn't. Don't recommend works. I did the JDA's videos a while back. Okay. I'll have to do that because, yeah, I unsubscribed. I'm not telling you guys to, but I unsubscribed from John Trent and JDA just because I didn't want to see this shit. I was over it. Hey, cheers, Raziel. So, anyways, I just want to bring up a couple things before we wrap up in the next half hour or so. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Obviously, controversy aside, however you feel about the game, like I've said, you're entitled to feel however you feel about Daniel Vavra, about the studio, and about the game itself. The game is doing fantastic. It's doing extremely well. Arguing that point is obnoxious and irrelevant because the game sold 1 million copies in the first 24 hours. This game's already made money. Allegedly 40 to 60 million, roughly US dollars. Maybe we could even round up and say closer to 100 million US dollars. They're going to cover that in no time if they haven't already. So the reality is this game has already been a success, you know? The only thing I know about law is lawyers suck you dry, not in a fun way. Depends on the lawyer, man. Really depends on the lawyer.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a
Hey,
scholar.
Netflix Foreign, how's it going? Thanks for subscribing, Darkness. Lawyers, man. My mom's had to pay lawyers for divorces, and my God, one of those was super expensive. Absolutely insane. So, there's no way to look at this game other than, controversy aside, that it's been successful. However, was this in response to Smash? No, this was in response to Daniel Vavra. So John has been going hard at Daniel Vavra for the last couple of weeks. Now, here's the thing. There's legitimate criticism. I have been asking Daniel Vavra to respond to certain things. The man's ignored me. Apparently, if you're not mean enough, if you're not a big enough troll, if you don't try to incite some sort of like violent outburst from Daniel Vavra, you're not going to get a response, okay? That's one of my big criticisms of the guy. He only responds typically to the trolls. That's it. Well, he put this out here on February 8th saying 202,000 concurrent players. That was before this weekend. That was before Sunday where we hit a peak of like 260,000 people, right? They already hit the break-even point. Well, there you go. Heard you talk about Microsoft's acquisitions. Microsoft has proved they can't have nice. Dude, okay. I have now built 3 computers. They're all running on Windows. My mom has an Apple product. She has an iPhone. She has a Mac computer. I hate Apple. But as much as I hate Apple, and as much as I've always been like pro Microsoft, at this point, I'd rather build a Linux computer in the future and have to learn how to do that than ever buy Microsoft ever again. He takes the dumbest take. There's been a lot of dumb takes, to be honest. If the game is great, then it's great regardless of opinions. Sure. Hey, Andrew Richardson, Smash sent me. Well, welcome in, buddy. Appreciate you for being here. Vavra has also been going pretty hard at JDA, and it's kind of hilarious. Dude, here's the thing. Aside from John Del Rose and all of his weird furry past stuff, that again, I'm not going to address any of that stuff because it's whether I can look at it, some of it and say JDA was trolling. Maybe he got too carried away. That's kind of weird. All the other allegations people bring up, that's not for. I'm not getting into that messy stuff. But what I will say is when Daniel Vavra criticized a media outlet like I think it was Game Hub or Game Informer or whatever. No, Game Informer shut down. Game Hub, because they gave him a 50% on his game, 50 out of 100. And he gave them shit because they were like this biased journalistic, outlet or whatever. People like were giving Vavra so much hell over it. I'm like, guys, if this was Elon Musk, giving a media outlet some sort of, criticism, then you absolutely be singing his praises.
Do I need to be
but a
liked?
guy that's already
Absolutely
being criticized criticizes a media outlet, and you're like, oh, this guy's just sour.
Absolutely not.
Yo, NS, you're supposed to be saving your money, man.
Do I need to be
Come on,
liked?
dude.
Absolutely not. Do I need to be liked? Absolutely not.
Dude, NS with the 10 gifted. Holy crap, dude.
I have to be liked.
I have to be liked. That's right, dude. I always have to be liked. No, I just appreciate you guys for hanging here. I don't care if you like me. You can hate my guts as long as you're hanging out here. Let me see. Oblivion says that doesn't stop a campaign to destroy it, but absolutely true. Like all the movies from the 90s, the critics hated, but are still loved by most people. Critics and audiences have always disagreed on a lot of stuff. Honest to God, your fingers slipped. Why were your fingers anywhere near there in the first place? Don't answer that. Don't answer that, okay? But you're supposed to be saving money for your computer, dude. I appreciate the hell out of you. Thank you so much. But dude, save it. Buy a computer, man. As much as I value your money, I value computers more. And I value nice computers more. So buy a nice computer when you do it. That being said, Vavra points out they had 200,000 players. And JDA comes back and says, you said the game sold over 1 million. Where are all the players? Dragon Age the Veilguard sold 1 million and had 400,000 concurrent their first week. This is sketchy and underage graphic gay sex scenes. Vavra responds, Daniela, is that you? We'll get into the Daniela thing in a minute. Dragon Age Veilguard peaked at 89,000 3 months ago. Here's what bothers me. This is why I'm not writing for Fandom Pulse anymore. This is why I'm sticking doing my own thing. And I'm sick and tired of people not being in this for the right reasons. Anybody who's been covering this topic for the last few months would be able to pull this number 89,000 out of their ass. I mean, legitimately. This number, 89,000, is burned into my brain because I've covered Dragon Age Veilguard. I know how many it peaked at 3 months ago because I've talked about it. John's talked about it. Why he would come up with this number, 400,000. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense. Wait, who are you? Why am I here? Where am I? I don't know. Just get the site going. Now's the time. Well, I've got a website, dude. That's where I do my articles on. But I don't. Hey, Cage of Chaos. I'm not like ad supported on my website. It's just my website for merchandise, which I have to get. I have to get updated. I've got to get more merchandise made. I've got to do all this other stuff, right? Yeah, Maki Sky. NS is just too generous, dude. I can legit prove after the original Xbox, and even they make some really bad decisions. They made constant bad decisions. MS had no patience, honestly. Dude, Netflix, the first 2 Xboxes, I know the first one for sure, lost them more money than they ever made. I don't know if the second one did, though, too. Hey, B-Man, how's it going? How is this happening? The raid is happening like over the course of 10 minutes. I don't understand raiding, guys. I don't get it, but I appreciate it. Hey, B-Man, Cryptic Search. Cryptic Stench. Somehow I read that as search. It's dumb to talk about, John. I have no interest in talking in like bad-mouthing him personally. I don't like the dishonesty. This was the thing that irritated the shit out of me a few weeks ago. John and I got into a Twitter conversation about censorship, where they both wanted to argue with me, and at the end of the day, they were both wrong. And neither one of them ever walked it back about the definition of censorship, about whether or not you could say that Trump shutting down a media outlet, a social media page for a defunct government office was censorship. I'm like, no, it's not censorship. They're shutting down a government building or government department. They don't need a social media account. Well, how can you say it's not censorship? It's just asinine, guys. So words have meaning, and unfortunately, people are distorting the meaning of words at this point. Oh, you were stream sniping me and chatting for a few. Okay, I see now. Now it makes sense. Dude, I don't even know how the raid feature works on YouTube. I mean, I streamed on Twitch for 5 years. I know how to like, raid a channel over there. I didn't even know that was a thing here. Okay. Could be because some people weren't watching the other streamer live. Oh, maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't like JDA, Melanie, Razorfist, or Vavra. And see, I don't mind if you don't like Daniel Vavra. I think he's been a complete ass, to be honest. And as far as personal opinions go, the more he talks, the more I probably wouldn't get along with him. Other than if we talk guns, we probably get along. That's about it. So as far as that goes, no. I mean, dumb isn't pointless. Yeah. No, Candace, I agree. I don't personally have any desire to get into his dirt. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy. That's the part that's troubled me for a few weeks now. It's been what's bothering me about a lot of this stuff, right? So you got IGN stirring up all this shit, going, oh, backed by popular demand. This is the 3rd time IGN has reposted this article. Their very first video they put out there talking about how to romance Hans in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, right? This was all because they knew that this would stir up a controversy, whether they thought that this was good in the game or they're just trying to piss off gamers and divide people over this game. Because personally, I still think they're trying to tank this game. I still think the media would love for this game to fail because this game was at the epicenter. Like after Gamergate 1 happened, it was like, oh, this guy's a pro Gamergater. You can't buy his game, right? Oh, Vavra's a big gun guy. Vavra loves guns. I told you that's the one thing he and I probably get along with. Oh, and the problem with Oblivion is everybody took the bait. Everybody fell for it. And it's just unfortunate. It's like, guys, there's enough genuine, honest discourse to have about this game and about Daniel Vavra and about the studio and whether or not they're woke and whether or not that they got bought out by an Embracer or DEI investment, which again, I don't personally think happened. We have a clip from Toby saying this was Daniel all the way through. So that their community, interaction guy, Toby, he's the one saying, oh no, I tried to tell him this might be a bad idea, but he wanted to do it. Most of their editors went to Blue Sky. Yeah, most of the people that work at IGN are over at Blue Sky. So, hey, Seabrew, thanks for following on Twitch. We'll be playing some more...
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
More Kingdom Come 2 on Friday. I think Wednesday we're going to be doing some Atomic Heart. I haven't played that game in about a year. But there's DLC and stuff. This conversation is about games. Anyone talking games anymore? Point me in the right direction. We were talking about Avowed. We talked about, Obsidian and Bethesda. Unfortunately, we were getting to the end. We were going to kind of talk about some of this other stuff. I did take the bait. It goes viral every time free engagement. So Blu-ray, there's the other thing. people point out that apparently I'm Australian now. No, that JDA did this for engagement, for monetization reasons. I have no problem with that. To be honest, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I don't care if people are trolling on Twitter for engagement. Sure, it's kind of annoying. The people who repost a video and say, what do you think of this? That shit I block right away. But if you're somebody who is genuinely provoking people for a reaction and it puts a few dollars in your pocket, I don't care. That's how the game's played. But when John is taking such a moralistic approach and such a high horse in the situation to where then he turns around and says, I just mute them and it's good for my engagement and it just puts money in my pocket. I'm like, so do you honestly believe the things you're saying, that you're, morally superior to the people that play this game? I mean, he called the people that played this game pedo sympathizers or pedos or whatever. Like, that includes me. So, John, you can go fuck yourself if you see this video.
Thank you very much, sir.
And I don't use those words lightly.
And a scholar.
Yeah. Anyways. Hate IGN pushing this optional romance like it's 0.001% of the game. If you even make it part of the game, dude. That's the thing. Those of you who have high quality gameplay expectations from this streamer, you're in for a rude awakening. Oh boy, you have no idea. Yeah, Atomic Heart was pretty fun the last time I played it, dude. So I'll be curious to boot it up a year later and see how it runs. Hey, B-Man, have a good night, dude. Let me see here. Let me stay up to date with the chat. Think of it as retribution. Honestly, I look at this entire IGN spinning like this for bait just because they knew that it would get people pissed off. So there was the Japanese studio that called UK one by the same name. TFLO got canceled too. I'm not sure about some of those games. You're past John. I think most of us are past John at this point. Is Ryan McCaffrey even still worth listening to from IGN? I don't think so. I don't think anybody at IGN is worth listening to at this point. Hey, Don Rickles, how's it going, buddy? Two big reasons. Dude, NS, that was the funniest thing. Playing Atomic Heart a year ago, I was like shocked at the amount of like sexual innuendo they had in the game, where you go to upgrade your weapon and the damn like refrigerator looking thing is like moaning at you as you're upgrading. It's like, dude, you gotta chill, man. Said that about pedo thing, he took it too far. No, dude, he did. There are tweets where he says, a lot of pedos enjoying this game or something along those lines. 10:20 a.m. for him. I don't know what time zone he's in. If Vavra called out IGN, he could win me over again. The problem is he only attacked a couple of outlets that he, didn't like the reviews they gave him because they said, oh, the game too hard. We don't like the game. And they did the total journalist thing where it's like, it just asks you to do too much and it's too demanding. It's like, I think it was Eurogamer and Games Hub were the two that gave it a 50% and a 60%. Those are the two that he called out. You out of here, Smash? All right, dude, get some rest. I'm going to try to get to sleep by midnight. I think we'll try to be out here by midnight. The only revealed pedos are on the repent side. I'm not even going to say that. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. I've said it on Twitter a few times. Some guy misconstrued what I was saying and he blocked me over it. The only thing worse than being a pedophile is calling people a pedophile with zero evidence, with no reason to other than you don't like their opinion. So that's it. The only person worse than a pedophile is those who falsely accuse others of being pedophiles. And that for me, that's a line you don't cross. I'm sorry. So today we had an update first thing this morning. I wrote this up. I kind of felt like we'd either watch Smash's live stream from the other night covering this article, or we could go listen to Toby, but basically Fandom Pulse, who I will no longer write for again, decided to run this article, and you can see it from Smash's his video here, saying that apparently Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 features graphic depictions of child sodomy. Now again, this is the problem we get into when it comes to a lot of the terminology. I've been saying homosexuality in my articles because I'm viewing it as while you might not morally approve of it, it is what it is. It's homosexuals. They say sodomy because it's a religious thing. Fine. I understand that. John's a religious guy. John Trent is. I'm not sure. JDA says he is also, so fine. They're both religious. However, when you use this terminology, it's from a religious standpoint, which is kind of a strange thing to put about a video game, but okay. Now, furthermore, there's no kids in the game. So this right off the bat was complete bullshit. It was a complete clickbait title, okay? Furthermore, it's not even graphic. There is nothing... For me, when you say graphic, I'm thinking adults only, like full-blown NC-17, whatever they call that, mature and up, right? Not something that is what you get in these video games. Even like the most graphic sex scenes in these games, you're not seeing the P go into the V. There's none of that. Smear article to rile up a campaign. It's because Daniel Vavra attacked JDA. Okay? Here's the issue. We want to talk about ethics in journalism. We want to talk about how bad it is when the develop. Let's go back to Zoe Quinn. Let's go back to frickin' Gamergate 1. Okay? The entire thing started because of ethics in journalism, right? A developer was sleeping with reporters or sleeping with journalists to get a better review for her game. That's what started Gamergate 1, okay? Like in a nutshell, just the Reader's Digest condensed version of it. Going after a developer because it's good for Twitter monetization, to rile up people on Twitter to share your posts, then getting attacked by the developer because he outs you for being a weirdo, and then writing hit pieces on his game with bad information that likely isn't true, but you're going to run it anyways, as retribution, that is no different than the way that the media outlets like Kotaku or IGN or The Verge or Eurogamer have treated people for the last 10 years. How is it any different? Let me see. What did Netflix say? It's likely IGN and others stirred the pot because they thought it wasn't selling poorly enough. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it was them truly praising the game for its wonderful diversity and inclusion. Sorry, guys. I don't think that IGN really loved the game, okay? Referring to the Hans character as a child, context time setting is key. Well, DB, there's two parts of that. We're going to get into that. Hans in the game is not a child. He's played by an adult, he's treated like an adult, and there's nothing in the game to allude to him being anything under the age of 18 or 21, because he is clearly an adult in the game. The historical character is a reference, he's a reference point for Hans. That's it. They don't even know definitively when the historical person was born. They put 1388 with a question mark because they don't even know when he was born. So this entire thing was built on speculation by two people who you can go back and I'm sure you can find this tweet. JDA said he only plays Mario Kart and like 2 games because everything else is degenerate. You're talking about people who don't have any knowledge about video games. And guys, I am not the most knowledgeable person about video games. I didn't play as many video games as the rest of you guys growing up. My parents had us working as teenagers, and even back when I was a kid, I was working with my parents. We didn't have a lot of money. My mom hated video games. So I played the games that I was able to play, right? I loved them, but I didn't have a whole lot of games growing up. I have far more games now than I ever had growing up. But basic video game knowledge would help people understand that. I mean, if you had any experience at all with the series, with the franchise, or if you went to somebody and said, hey, is this in the game? You know what I would do if I was going to cover this? I would talk to one of you guys. I'd Blu-ray, Wild, Oblivion. I'd talk to one of these guys and say, guys, what do you know about this? We talk about this stuff on Discord. We talk about games. I have people talk about games all the time that I know nothing about. Nightcore has me playing some anime game that's really fantastic because I'd never heard of it. And it's a great game, but it's a weird game I never would have played otherwise. This is what you do, You have to have conversations with people who are actually interested in video games if you're going to cover it. And sometimes we all get things wrong, that's fine, but this doesn't feel like sometimes. This feels like deliberate smearing as retribution. I'm doing it for engagement stuff, so I hope that they taught us how to make themselves sound like Chad. I don't give an F. Hustlers, maybe. I don't know. All I know is, Andre, I see what you're talking about. I'm not sure what it's in reference to. But I have seen John and a lot of other people try to do this revisionist history stuff with Christianity because they attack Daniel Vavra for not having the most positive view of Christianity. Look, Daniel Vavra is from what I understand, he still follows Norse religious, mythology. He said his god has an 8-legged horse. So clearly he likes or prefers Norse mythology or pagan mythology over modern, or ancient Christianity. Whatever. I don't care what the man's religion is. I also didn't think that the game was a Christian game to begin with. So what I find just incredibly telling is people who instantly were freaking out over the fact that he said it wasn't a Christian game. With anybody who's played the game would know it's not a game that's designed to promote a religious system of any kind. The game is not a Christian game. Like every other word is F-bomb, or you're murdering people, or there's the bath whores, and it's like, come on guys, this is not a Christian game. Let's be fair. Nights in the Dreams or Watch This or Panzer Dragoon? Probably not. Probably not. Blu-ray Wild and Blithian mentioned, but not me. And I only say that because you've been kind of in and out, man. Blu-ray and Wild have both DM me on Twitter. Oblithian's in on Discord. Patriot, all you guys are super knowledgeable. I appreciate everybody who can kind of give me good ideas of what games I should check out and stuff. Oh my god. I'm forever going to be haunted by this stream where I couldn't remember to give everybody credit. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Okay? I don't know what to do now. How do I earn your forgiveness, man? So, anyways, I tried getting Daniel Vavra to respond. Like I said, if you're not a big enough dick, he won't respond because he's looking for somebody to fight with. This is again what turns a lot of people off about Daniel Vavra's personality. I understand that. It's not a good way to go about things, right? Now, here's the other thing that a lot of people have said. They're fictional characters. Who cares if they're minors? Okay. That's where I draw a line for me personally. I understand that there's the whole lolly art conversation stuff. I'm not going to get into that. I am not going to get into that. That's not something I want to talk about. People were talking to me about this whole Earth Updates account on Twitter that said lolly is pedo stuff. I'm not going to even address lolly stuff. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. If you enjoy it, fine. Go enjoy it. That's fine. I just personally, for me, I said if the director comes out for this game and says, well, Hans is 15, and we have this gay sex scene with him, I'll be like, okay, I don't care if it's optional. Refund the game. I want to take no part in it. Yeah, guys, I'm not saying that the game doesn't have that the game doesn't promote or doesn't do a good job of not promoting. Again, it's not promoting Christianity, of showcasing Christianity in a European setting in the Dark Ages. It certainly does do that very well. I don't think the game is designed to promote any sort of religious values, if you will. Wild, you guys all contribute, and like I've said before, none of you guys. I wouldn't be here without any of you guys. I've been in a slump mentally over this damn game and life in general. I've been very busy, very tired. Mentally, I get to the end of my day and I'm like, I can play a game for an hour, or I can try to figure out something I give a damn about enough to talk about. And so, while I dread Monday nights because a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to talk about or how the stream is going to go, nights like tonight make up for it because you guys are fantastic. You lie? Oh, we haven't gotten there. You said he responded on Twitter. Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. Don't worry, I know that he responded. Let me see here. You don't have to talk to your parents because I'm a grown up and they let me enjoy pastime as I see fit. It's all good. Oh no, Christian imagery is that's fine. The whole point is that clearly the game was not meant to promote a Christian message, because the game is a historically based fictional game with characters loosely inspired by historical figures, and you can do whatever you want to in the game and play however you want to. I've watched, guys, I grew up watching Christian movies. I grew up listening to Christian music, and I've saw some Christian movies. There is nothing, I had back on my old NES, I had the Noah's Ark game, which actually slapped, okay? It was a game with 3 different games on it. There was Noah's Ark, there was Joseph, was it Joseph or was it Moses? I think it was Moses, and then there was one other one. All of them were great games. They were 100% Christian games because they were telling a Bible story. Those were Christian games, 174 people? Is that how many? I can't see the actual numbers, dude. I find it funny how people mention Christianity around the game about my country without knowing anything about our history. Yeah, it's very interesting. The fruits of them, a Pharisee is a person that follows the law and self-righteous. Yeah. For example, the furry stuff isn't for me. I don't go to furry community and talk down to them how bad it's morally wrong. I mean, I just leave the furries alone. I don't I also don't really get the furry stuff either. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. No, dude, Tekla, honestly, it was this old NES game we had, and it had 3 different Bible stories on it, and they were all good. They were really good. I remember playing that as a kid. It was probably about 1990. I'm sure somebody in the chat probably knows what I'm talking about. But it was fantastic. Like, they were good games, and they were Christian games. They were Bible games. Anyways, so after all the allegations, after all this shit, right? Stalin wasn't a murderous maniac, just chilled you. We'd call him Broseph Stalin. Get out of here. NS, what are you doing, man? What the hell, man? Expedition 33, Gothic remake, Exodus. I'm hearing stuff about Exodus, Don Rickles. Maybe, yeah, there was one that has a slingshot, Andrew. I think it was David and Goliath. Yes, there was a David and Goliath game on there. Parents would have hated Breath of Fire. Dude, my dad didn't hate video games. My mom loathed them with the passion of like 1,000 suns. So she despised video games. And so if it was a good day, we were lucky to maybe get to play like half an hour of video games, and that was it. Against a Christian country. Yeah, Edby, unfortunately, I did actually study a lot of like medieval history as a kid and growing up, and the Crusades were not as wonderful as people remember them. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, King Richard, returning from the Third Crusade, where they didn't actually take over Jerusalem, I think they signed a peace with Saladin, King Richard died because his men were sieging a friendly castle on the way back, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. There's a Christian metal band on the game Killing Floor 2. Andre, did you know the reason for that? Because John Gibson, former CEO of Tripwire, that made Killing Floor, is a outspoken Christian who got canceled back in 2022, I think it was, or 2021. I've talked to him in DMs a bit. I'm thinking about maybe interviewing John Gibson. Maybe do a sit down with him. He actually used to live in my state here in Washington. At one point, I probably could have like met up with him at a coffee shop, but unfortunately, at this point now, I think he moved to like some other country. He's doing like mission work and stuff. He's actually making a Bible game. Not even kidding. Like some interactive Bible storytelling game. So, good dude. Really cool dude. But that's probably why they had Christian bands in there. So, now after all the controversy, after all the smear campaigns, the headlines and stuff, let me see. You just bought the first game for $20? Oh, awesome. That was England about 100 years later. Are you sure about that? Because... oh, you're talking to Netflix. Oh, was Bohemia the beginning of more Protestantism? I don't know. Not related to Mel Gibson. Unfortunately, NS. But John he's still a good dude. Really cool guy. Yeah, they pillaged everything. And this is the thing. People who talk about like the Deus Vault, let's go and start a new, crusade and go take over the Holy Land. It's like, I want no part of that. Absolutely not. Planning on getting the second one next week? Well, dude, use my link. Yeah. So anyways, Daniel Vavra came out and responded. And the funniest part is that this is after he called out John De La Rose as being Daniela, which we'll get into in a minute. Says, Daniel Vavra confirms Hans Capen is not a child despite claims that his game contains child sodomy. Yeah, Passion of the Christ 2 I'm really concerned about. Because Jim Caviezel is like 20 years older. I don't think Jesus should age 20 years. And maybe they'll use like anti-aging technology. I don't know how well Jim Caviezel has aged, to be fair. I haven't seen a recent picture of him. I just really hope that I really liked The Passion of the Christ. I saw it in theater as a teenager, and that movie was like shocking, right? Watching that, I can't remember if it was my church, like my youth group that went and saw that, like a group of us or whatever. And it's like, all right, church kids, go and see a rated R movie. Good times. And it was like so freaking brutal, but really, really well made movie. Okay, so I wrote, in what has already been a rather contentious month for Daniel Vavra, Warhorse Studios, and fans of their new hit title, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, things have seemingly hit an all-new low. Several users on X recently discovered the in-game codex from Kingdom Come Deliverance mentioning that the character Hans Capen was based on a real-life person. I'm not going to even pretend that I know how to pronounce this name properly. I'm going to say Jan Tasik of Perkstein. I don't know if the P is silent in the second name. who may have been born in 1388. If accurate, this would make him 15 years old at the time the games take place. Yeah, I don't get it, Oblivion. I don't know why you'd wait this long to make a sequel. The ruler of Austria actually seized Richard on the way back. During that time, the French king was seizing Richard's lands. So when he returned, he started to seize back his... Oh, okay, Sula, thank you. All right, so... Or Sulla. I think it's Sulla. So yeah, this is stuff, like I said, I haven't studied history in a while. This is just stuff I remember in passing. So... okay, so again, friendly countries, more or less friendly. I think this is prior to the 100 Years' War, because that was, what, 1600s? Yeah, you got guys who are on the same sides fighting each other, you know? I think maybe the censorship on the channel is starting to lighten up a little bit. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Who knows? Is it coming out next year? I'm not sure. I haven't looked too far into it. Yeah, no, Radic, 100%. It's... Here's the thing. There was a character that they put in Kingdom Come Deliverance who had already been dead for 2 years. So again, there are a lot of people who pointed out these are not supposed to be real-life people, right? So Luke Dale, the actor for Hans, is a 31-year-old man, and there were no issues voiced over his portrayal of the character in the first game. Like many of the other characters, Hans was only based on a real-life person, and child NPCs don't even exist in either title. Most players understood the character to be an accurately portrayed adult male, and Hans engaged in all the activities that went with it, drinking, fighting, whoring, etc. Despite this, a renewed cancel campaign has been launched against Daniel Vavra and his campaign. What the hell? And his studio. Oof. Yeah, it'll be bedtime in about 20 minutes. As far as I know, so I have seen a lot of people have different opinions about instant gaming. Everything I've purchased through them has been legitimately no problems, never had an issue redeeming it on Steam. As far as where they get their keys from, they claim that they get them directly from retailers. I don't have verification of that, okay? I don't. However, every key that I've ever bought from them works great. So... Knowing everything you know about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, would you still get it? I ask because I'm on the fence. Dude, honestly, Don, so I'm really, really enjoying it 7-8 hours in. So that's up to you, man. But I totally get what you're saying. I only got through like 30 plus hours of the first game. And as bad as it is, like I really want to stop playing the second game to go back to play the first game, but I just don't have time. I'm probably going to play the first one again after I finish the second one. They're both that good. But if you're asking legit as in you'll get a legit key, yes, you will get a key that 100% works. No questions asked. The keys work. No, I knew it wasn't exactly 100 years, but I thought it was later on because they developed rifles at that point, at least muskets, didn't they? Armistice during this. Oh, I guess you do actually have firearms in 1403 in this game in the second. You get like a boomstick. Yes, keys absolutely get delivered. I've never had a problem. Never had anybody say anything at all about them being an issue, so. Sites like Fandom Pulse were quick to run with the story that the game depicts a scene of child sodomy, and other ex-users shared screenshots of themselves reporting the game to Steam. Now, I don't want to call out J Viper too harshly. Not that he even knows who I am, so I don't think it matters. But he had actually tweeted out before, and you can see where he says, I deleted the tweet, okay, LMAO, as if this isn't a big deal. He was telling people to report the game on Steam. Now, this is a game that had to go through ESRB ratings. It had to go through local ratings boards for Japan, for Saudi Arabia. Look, the game is not available on PlayStation in Saudi Arabia, but it's available on Steam. So clearly, the game has gone through a lot of different ratings boards all over the world, and nobody said, wait a second, you've got a child sex scene in here. J Viper told people, report the game on Steam. Report the game. And I'm like, oh my God. So now he's like, I deleted the tweet. Apparently people can't look at replies to find updated information, and we're still melting down. I understand people saying, dude, that's a dick move. Like, it was legitimately it's not the same as when Chris Kindred from Sweet Baby Inc. went after Kabrutus, but it's almost on the same level. You're going after a studio and telling people to not just boycott the game. You want to tell them boycott the game, whatever, that's up to you. But telling people to go to the Steam store page and report it. Are based on check words used in this time's game. Yeah, I saw something about that. I don't know. I've never watched J Viper's videos, so I have no idea. Don't know. It's modern Germany, but close enough to check. I think you might be on something there. Mansfield's just northwest of Czech. J Viper sounds like those people who tell you to yes like that. Yeah, so again, I think that that's a very extreme response given the fact that if you used your own God-given brain and intellect and think about it for 10 seconds and not just reacting to one... Like, here's the thing that's happened. In the last year that I've covered stuff, there have been things that I maybe knee-jerk reacted to. But typically what happens, and my wife will do this, and we'll talk about things. She'll show me a screenshot or a video and say, did you hear about this? And I'll be like, well, where'd you hear that? And then we'll talk about it. And then it'll be like, okay, you can go on and Google it, verify it, look at a community note and go, yeah, that's not true. Okay, so, dude, I've got that brought up, Cage of Chaos. I actually have that as a thing right here that I was going to talk about, but we're probably not going to have time. If I had time, I'd make a video on it, but we're just going to have to kind of wrap up with this Kingdom Come stuff. So I said on here, rather he responded, Daniel Vavra did himself no favors by not being quick to address these allegations. And I tried, guys, I tried for a couple days to get him to address this. Whether or not this was the start of Protestantism. Okay, Martin Luther was from northwest of Czech 100 years later from this time period. Okay. We're in a culture war, we have to react first. Your name's Jamo, I'll try to remember that, dude. I try to remember people's names if I know their name, even if I see their YouTube name pop up, you know. Gabe, Steam, and Valve are based. I don't know about how based. Like, again, I'm not a fan of the word based anymore. I feel like they've been so poorly used at this point. So it says here, you can see this tweet from Lars Dissith, and this was a conversation that a lot of people have been sharing, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen it and taken it in a really weird way. I talked about this in my video, and I had a lot of people saying, man, you're doing a lot of heavy lifting and stretching for this guy. So Lars goes after him and says, oh, you have a gay underage sex scene. Daniel Vavra comes back and says, you do realize that people as young as 12 were having sex at that time, and of course, you know, they even had to be supervised the first time because it was this weird coming of age thing, I guess. I don't know. That's disgusting. I don't want to talk about that, but apparently that was a thing. So this is a response to that. The guy says, if you were aiming for historical accuracy, why are there no children in the game? Because they could be killed? Killing them is bad, but having sex with them is fine? Okay, bud. Daniel says, so there are no children, but Capon is a child, and you seem kind of lost. He's talking about what this guy's claiming. He's saying, you're saying Hans is a child, but then you're also saying there's no kids in the game. You can't have it both ways. People took this as Daniel Vavra being a creep and justifying sex with 12-year-olds. And again, I think there's a lot that's lost in translation because of the fact that he is not a native English speaker. His point, and I think a point some of you have made in the chat, which again, I personally don't care. I don't want to see a 15-year-old having sex, even if it's appropriate for the time and they're considered adults. I still think it's creepy and weird by today's standards. But do I accept the fact that teenagers were married and having kids at that point in history? Absolutely, right? 100%. Just smile and nod. 100%, dude. That's really where I feel like it. Luther was inspired by Huss, among others. Oh, I didn't know that. Another issue is people running defensive Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, dismiss our criticism of there being a Mali Muslim. Oh no, Solo, I get that. And I understand. And look, I've used the example of Robin Hood, like Azim from Robin Hood, and nobody had an issue with that. And he was a cool character, and they gave him a plausible reason to be there. But at the same time, you do have the community manager from Warhorse that had previously said there are no black people in Bohemia. So that's where there's a lot of conflict. And I get people who are bothered by the flip-flopping. I understand that. So, Vavra acting like a debate me bro autist is goofy. Dude, I have said from day one, my biggest issue with the man is that he just won't shut up. You know? He just won't shut up. Who will ban me, Oblivion, who says I have an account on Steam? Guys, I don't even have a single moderator in chat tonight. I can't ban anybody because I'm not going to bother. Like, unless you guys start going on some like disgusting rant of some kind that really like crosses a line, I'm not banning anybody. I'm going to leave it to YouTube to ban you guys itself. Now Vavra has come forward to clarify what most people already knew, that the character is only based on a real-life person and his actual age has never been confirmed. He wrote on X, Jan Tasik, hopefully I'm saying that properly, or Hans Capen, is a historical character. His date of birth is unknown and is probably before 1388. And guys, I showed this in my video, and I showed this to people on Wikipedia. This Jan character, the real-life person, has his birth year listed as 1388 with a question mark because they don't even know how old the guy was. You know? How do you become a mod? Typically when it comes down to it, it's just people that I've known for a while that if they ask or if I feel like they want to be one, I'll just mod them. I don't know. You may come to regret those words, no banning. NS, maybe I'll ban you. Oh no, guys, you're good. We are all super chill here. I don't have a need. I don't ban trolls if they come in. I don't ban, will Vavra do interviews now? For Tanga, who has been on Vavra's side for most of this, said he wanted to interview him, and I don't think he's going to get an interview. So Hans in reality was straight with a wife. Yes. Oh no, Vavra speaks very good English. Like I said, I think there are some things that are lost in translation, but no, he speaks very good English. All these guys do. All these developers do. I'm gonna start to know you and become a mod. I look forward to our journey together. Indeed, same for you, buddy. All right, so he says he got married in 1403, year of the Kingdom Come Deliverance events, and this I think is his point. He got married the year that he would have quote unquote been 15. So if his point is that at that point those people were adults by their standards, so it shouldn't be this weird thing where we're thinking, oh, this person's a child, you know, and they obviously aged up the characters to match the actors so there would be no weirdness because these were clearly adults in the games. This was a big non-issue that never should have been a thing. Bro Tato, I've thought about buying that game a few times. Wish Vavra didn't associate himself with David Jaffe. Okay, can I share my two cents on the David Jaffe thing? I don't care. I don't care that he talked about David Jaffe or that he saw David Jaffe playing the game. Because these two guys would probably destroy each other in a room if they ever had to sit near each other. Like, as much as I think Vavra isn't as based as people thought he was, I know that if you put him in the same room with David Jaffe, well, only one person's coming out alive, and it's not going to be David Jaffe, okay? That being said, they're both game developers. Did you guys see the guys from Shift Up hanging out with Neil Cuckman at the Game Awards? I saw a photo of the dude from Shift Up or a couple of these other guys who are based Korean, based Japanese, based developers, all these guys, the guys from Game Science from China. They're all hanging out with these other game developers. They're all coworkers. Whether or not they like each other's politics or they would agree on this kind of stuff, I don't really care that he mentioned that David Jaffe's playing his game. He knows David Jaffe as the guy who made God of War. I mean, that to me was such a nothing burger. I don't know. Vavra would be doing what Jaffe wishes he could do to Alyssa, yeah. Johnny Boy is nothing but a grifter on the gaming community, and he's using this game to try and put himself out there. I think he's the moral justice for gaming. Yeah, Thomas, I kind of agree with you there. Oh, Jaffe is a complete lolcow, dude. Yeah, Candace. Okay, so I'm not crazy. It was a photo of the guys from Shift Up with Neil Druckmann. Okay, and Neil Druckmann and Shift Up, like those guys have nothing in common. Their approach to games is completely polar opposite. But do they still associate with each other as game developers? Yeah, because they are both in the same industry. They are coworkers, essentially. You know, they compete with each other, but they're in the same industry. It's like how all the guys in the NFL, we watched the Super Bowl yesterday, and I still believe half the time they try to script it as much as they can. These guys, as much as they act like they hate each other on the football field, they're coworkers. Okay, all these owners are all in this together. So, dude, honestly, it's Neil Cuckman. It will always be Neil Cuckman, you know? Isn't Jehudi one and the same with Egyptian Thoth, who's a moon god? You guys are like way over my head. I'm not as big. I love Norse and Greek mythology. I'm not as big into like Egyptian. They took a pick because Sony's their publisher. Okay. And that could be true, but at the same time, it's like you don't see anybody raking them over the coals for it. Like I said, when Vavra criticized Games Hub for their 50 out of 100 score that they gave his game, if it was Thomas Mahler, the dude from Moon Studios, and he shit on a developer, a media outlet for giving Ori and the Will of the Wisps a bad score, everybody on Twitter would be praising Thomas Mahler for how based he was for shitting on a bad score from a biased media outlet. You know that's true. This dude from CI Games, from Lords of the Fallen, who's gotten banned from his own Reddit, apparently, for his game because he's been trying to give gamers what they want. If he criticizes a media outlet, people are going to praise him and cheer him on. But because Daniel Vavra's already pissed off half of his fan base, we have a lot of people going, oh, that's just petty. It's like, I like to think we can be objective about these things. Is it petty when one person does it? Well, then it should be petty when both people do it, you know? Bigoted streamer only likes European mythology. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm just not a big fan of African mythology. I'm just not. Okay. Yeah, Obama sat and joked with Trump at the funeral. Right. They were both laughing, you know? Yeah, so, and you know what? That's the thing. It's like, it may not be historically accurate. The games are not designed to be 100% historically authentic. Again, the point of the games was to give you a plausible playthrough of what a decent representation of a historical 1400s Bohemia could have looked like, and then the rest of it's your sandbox to play with it as you will. Norse moon goddess Manny, you're following now? It's been a while though. You got to understand, I have not delved into Norse mythology, like deep into it, in a very long time. I'm not sure about is it Mani or Manny? I can't remember. Anyways, he wasn't the only person. This is the funny thing. I saw this other developer tweet this out the other day, right? I said, this reinforces what one of the developers at Warhorse had previously posted. This guy here. So first, I got responded to when I talked about it from this guy, Odakar Shone, okay? I mentioned him in my video. He goes, Bourbon, don't bark. Come here. Don't bark at the cats. Stop it. There are purposely no kids in the game. That is a rule. Not because of sex, because of possibility of them being killed, and this is a big no-no if you want to get an age rating. Age of historical characters is altered in the game. Von Aulitz was dead for a year while his character is in the game alive. The actor who plays Hans was over 20 when doing motion capture and voiceovers for the first game. Pedophilia is strictly defined, concerns children up to 13. And again, I don't like the whole age classification thing, guys. I think if it's under, I just don't want to see anything under 18 or 21 involved in any of that kind of stuff. But that's, again, if you're going by technical definitions, sure. It's disgusting how you guys, under a banner of morality, make up stuff about a game you don't like and knowingly lie to do damage. And then this guy here responded and says, the mention about Capon being underage ties to his position of not old enough to take Perkstein at his hold. There is no specific age tied to this underage state, and his political adulthood would be reached once Council of Nobles says so. And this guy is an actual developer at Warhorse Studio, okay? One of the game designers. My dog is very small. Lots of gaming YouTubers have Trump in their intros and outros now. I don't know. For me personally, when it comes to like a gaming stream, when I'm doing gaming, I try to not get too political. If we're talking like a night where we're just straight up doing like news and politics, yeah, it might pop up, but honestly, I don't know. It's probably because of the fact that he's such a meme. Had the writer for the article been Alyssa Mercante, most definitely the gamers and YouTubers would be singing his praise. Thank you, Thomas. 100%. Like, I think we just need people to be more objective, to be more, like I've said before, about the whole gay romance thing in this game. I understand, modern era, a lot of this feels like forced crap, right? Because like I said before, DEI has unfortunately created more racial sensitivity and perception of racism than we could have ever had otherwise. Like anybody who wasn't a bigot 10 years ago or wasn't racist 10 years ago is going to be a little bit more bigoted or racist now than they probably were 10 years ago. Because when all you see online is this divisive racial shit, it's going to naturally wear off on you. And that's not a failing of any of us. That's just what DEI has done to people. So I understand a lot of sensitivity to it. But I can also compartmentalize and say I'm old enough to remember when games just had a lot of options and were good games, and that's where I kind of feel like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 falls in. It's a game with a lot of options. Now, I don't like the retconning after they said Henry was straight. I don't think that that's a smart move. Again, I'm just going to play him as straight. But I also don't like the fact that they were so emphatic about the fact that, again, no black people, no gay characters, whatever, he's not gay. You know, so I understand, like I said, more than just compartmentalizing the two categories, why people are bothered by it. We have a lot of sarcastic, dark, and offensive humor towards anyone. But see, Radek, I think that we have a lot of that here in the US as well. He's atheist. Those things about Norse mythology is same like Jedi faith or tattoo with Asian language, even in reality it means kung pao, chicken. Yeah, I think a lot of people have taken a lot of what he said super like. I mean, I take the guy as a troll. He's a shit poster, right? Dog's name is Bourbon, and I did not name the dog. Okay. I more or less adopted him from my mom, so I would never have named him Bourbon. I barely drink as it is, so. Retconning, yeah, so the retconning would be that they were emphatic about the fact that you play as a straight man in the first game, and they said that this was a community manager that posted on a Reddit forum, I believe it was, or Q&A on like a YouTube video, where somebody asked about, gay options, bisexual options for Henry, and they said, no, you're playing as a heterosexual Christian man in Bohemia in the 1400s, and you're not playing as a handicapped person, you're not playing as a black person or an atheist or a Muslim, you're playing as Henry. And then they've kind of gone back and said, well, you can make Henry do whatever you want. So there's a lot, That's a great name. Do you even know his breed? He's a, have I told you what this mutt is? People both John attacking this game, but wearing Kingdom Come to do, I get introduced to an obnoxious character that has to introduce themselves by their pronouns. Where in the game am I being? Well, the thing is, there's none of that preaching in the game as far as I've seen. Yes, there are certain issues that people have pointed out, like the character from Molly, obviously. But there's also, I guess, Henry is like kind of like terrified of the guy at first, so there's a lot of humor to it too. I don't know. The dog, you already saw him. He's black as night, so you can barely see him. Herbs, come here. I don't even know where he went. I think he went back in the other room. Don Rickles, or what was it? What'd you say? Jamo? I can't remember what you said your name was. I did a investigative article on that whole thing, dude. So, in fact, here, I'm going to play this for you guys. I'm going to play this for you. You guys tell me, because this is from a podcast that Toby, who runs a lot of their social media stuff, went on, right? Racist camera, I know. So, Toby represents Warhorse Studios, okay? He's like their media guy. And he went on this podcast. Just listen to what he has to say regarding the controversy. All right?
You do controversy, Sir Toby. So I got to ask you this, in terms of romance options. Now, obviously, Sir Toby, I wanted to know, how does the narrative team respond to some KCD fans who say, who have issue with Henry's romance options in KCD2, and some have felt that maybe this wasn't authentic to the time period or canonical to the characters. What says the narrative team about that?
It's an RPG and your decision matters. So if you want to do that, it's more like, where it all came from in the very beginning. It was there was a fan fiction going on right after the release of KCD1, where the fans with the community were drawing pictures like between Hans and Henry having something going on. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I mean, it was Daniel's idea or choice to say, hey, you know what? Like, if that is something they would like, then why not add it like an Easter egg kind of thing into the game, where you as a player have to, if you really want to, then you have to do several steps to get to that point, because by default Henry is straight and is looking out for women and whatnot. But if you really want to, and again, it's an RPG, then go for it. I mean, does it change the quest? Does it change the game? Does it do anything to lower the overall feeling? I don't think so. So,
yeah, John, I don't know who the people interviewing are. They get. I'm guessing that they're shills, because they get access to, like, I looked at the people that they've interviewed, and it's all like they got somebody from Avowed. They got they've talked to like a lot of the big personalities, so they strike me as the shill types based on just what I've seen from their channel.
what it does is adding just a new layer to if you want to look into that, if you want to play that. My girlfriend absolutely wants to go that route. That we will absolutely have to do that, and I'm fine with that because so what? I mean, you can have them all if you want, or none of them, or just no spoilers, just that person, or just the women. So I think this is very how do you say that in English?
It's very
bigger problem than it actually is, or something like that. It's made bigger than it actually
is. No, well said. And I'm glad
it's
you
options.
mentioned it's an option. And I want to shout out Destiny Gary. He had a tweet that I thought was interesting in reference to it. He says, "Look, I got to be honest. People complaining about Hans being romanceable in KCD2. He said, I truly don't get it. A, you don't have to do it. B,
Well, so while I've got two thoughts on that, and I do want to start wrapping things up here in a few minutes because my wife's like begging me to come to bed. I don't like shipping. I hate shipping when it comes to relationships where you get fans who think that they know better than the people who wrote the characters, and they're like, oh, what if we got these two characters together? And then they become obsessed with that, right? So if they're talking about how people shipped Henry and Hans, and that's what they were doing, I'm like, yeah, that's why, for me personally, I didn't care that they decided to give you the option of Henry romancing a character in the game. What bothered me was that it was his bromance, his buddy, Hans, right? Let me see. I know it wasn't even there's a Czech comedy I really like that Mermaid Once Freak. I haven't seen very much Czech stuff, unfortunately. I'm not very cultured. Remember the words, it was Daniel's choice. Actually, he says it in a second on here.
players of KCD1 ask for it, and C, it's only accessible later in the game. He said, being mad about this comes off like outraged for the sake of being outraged. There's something I'm missing. And then another thing that me and Attic talked about was a reference to, we have to be real. Even in, was it 14th, 15th century Bohemia, this people existed.
All right, well,
existed. Exactly.
I mean, of course, and
same to you,
it's
Candace.
also
I'm out of
true
here in a
that
minute.
They couldn't do it publicly, of course, then because
Correct.
it was considered a sin, and they would go into jail and whatnot, and or maybe even worse crimes and punishment and so on. So even in KCD, it's not like you're running around and asking, "Hey, do you want to make out something?" So I think it's handled in a very respectful and cautious way. Plus, as you say, it's the absolutely the end of the game, so it's like.
So yeah, basically it's at like a suicide mission type point in the game. Which again, if I'm straight and I've been with women my entire life, and then me and my buddy are going to go on a suicide mission, my first thought wouldn't be, why don't we hook up? Like I don't know. They say that they did it in an organic way, where it's natural, it happens. Fine, okay.
It's like you are on a mission on a suicide mission in a way, and that's where it can happen, which is, as I said, right at the end of the game. And I think you have to pass three checks before, and if you miss one of them, you can't even get there anymore. So you have to really deliberately go there. Plus,
also, Wild, I mean, making it such a hard thing to accomplish in the game, no pun intended. Sorry, I had to say that one. I think that there's some. I can kind of respect the idea that, okay, if we're gonna put this in the game, we don't want it to be blatant. We don't want it to be obvious, because that would definitely it wouldn't make sense, right? So if people want the option and you know that it's there, but you're not quite sure how to make it happen, as a gamer, I can understand people trying to make it happen, even if they're not gay in real life, or even if they're not normally like trying to have gay sex. Like, I get that. Like, me personally, no, I want nothing to do with that. I get it. All right, Raziel, thanks for hanging, dude. You don't think there could be an organic way? And like I said, I'm never going to know, because I'm not going to play it, man. I'm not going to play the gay part of the game. So
it warns you all the time. Not warns you, but it like tells you, hey, that's the way if you want to do it that way. So you can't even do it accidentally or something. And what is important, I think, and what these people are afraid of, I think, is that someone is trying to lecture them about something, or trying to teach them, hey, this is the right way and everyone else is stupid or whatnot, but this is not happening. So I think, again, everything we put into the game is...
So that right there, now, okay, you can argue the reason for making Henry have the gay option is wokeness. You can make that argument if you think that it's done for ideological reasons. He says it's not. He says it's done in a way that's not going to lecture you. They're not trying to convince you that it's the right way to do things. So that being said, just having the option there, stupid in my opinion, yes. Do I think it's woke? No, I think it's bad storytelling, personally.
It's very respectful, cautiously how it could have looked like in that time. Nothing is so completely out of place. Even if it seems like that, then we're trying hard to explain how this ended up to be a thing. And Daniel Vavra himself, and that is something they're also complaining, it was his decision and he fought for it. So no one at all, no one from PlayOn, no one from Embracer PlayOn.
So this is the part I want to focus on because this has been the big claim. Okay. Embracer owns Warhorse. The biggest shareholders in Warhorse Studio, in Embracer, the number one shareholder is the Swedish CEO, who we've seen the CEO from Saber Interactive, Matthew Kark, he's a pro gamer guy. He's come out singing the praises of the CEO of Embracer. We have people that are from Warhorse Studios saying he lets you make whatever game you want to make, right? The number two investor is a Saudi Arabian investment group, which if you can go look to their website, Savvy Gaming Group, they are not, as much as they claim that they are pro-diversity, they're not. They are really not. The Vanguard BlackRock conversation, like Vanguard is at number 9 at 2.5%, I think, as an investor, 2.5% of their shares, right, of Embracer Group. So then you have Daniel Vavra saying, nobody forced us to do this. This was my decision. People said, no, Embracer did it. People take this one tweet, this troll, and says, see, it's proof that Embracer did it. This investor's like, oh, I made them make the game gay. And now you have Toby coming out and saying, this was his decision. He wanted to see how it would come across. And it gets even better. Just hang on a second.
So the mother company, Embracer, is the mother company of PlayOn.
No one put the gun to y'all and said, y'all better put this in there. Y'all better.
But not only these things, but they didn't have any saying at all about the content, about the game. Nothing. Not a single part. Not it's too brutal, it's not brutal enough, make it longer, make it shorter. Nothing at all. Make it more funny. Nothing. Or add this or that. Nothing. It was all Daniel himself who thought it's interesting, it's funny, it enriches the story or something, or gives a new aspect, whatever, and he fought for it. I honestly was rather against it because I was expecting that something like this might happen. But
you were ready for the smoke.
As I said,
So again, he's saying, we even talked about it internally. I wasn't for it because I felt like it'd be a controversy, and Vavra is like, no, it'd be funny if we do this and give them more options. Just, again, I'm not saying you have to like it or agree with it. I'm just saying people blaming Embracer for this when Daniel Vavra's been owning this from day one. I just find it weird to have to come up with a conspiracy over something where you honestly have the guy who's in control of making the decisions. It's like, okay, so people were like, oh, but he's so based and this and that. He had to, guys, he's probably the same guy he always was, Yeah, I don't know any of these people. This is partly why I don't like doing panel stuff. Like when I've been on panels for friends of mine, when we do the Star Trek read, that's really cool over on Moxie's channel because you all have parts and you read your part. But in general, the whole panel approach to things, you've always got some guy who's just grunting and groaning, responding to everything. So it gets a little awkward. Seems this guy is the based one, not Vavra. Yeah, probably. It's interesting or funny to have gay stuff. I think it's more the reaction. Again, if you take it for what it is, if this is the true story, and again, I have nothing else to go on. People, you can believe them, you can not believe them, but I have nothing else to counter it with. Believe me, we've exhausted this to death. Will this make us money? And it made them money. Controversy and all. It's really funny because they talked one of their recent videos on this channel, and I know nothing about these guys. One of the recent videos
are the best way to show someone how much you care.
Has Mr. Matty Plays on it.
It is like this tangible thing that you can point to and say, hey man, I love you, this many dollars worth.
If they were to make a third game, do you think they'll add more gay things? We might have the frog boiling water situation.
That's a good question, Lugia. Thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, dude. I imagine since the gay characters existed in the first game, and now they added the gay romance option at the end of the second game, that there will probably be a gay option in the third game again, but this is not a guy who's trying to push a message that what is it Michael Scott says on The Office, the episode with the gay witch hunt. He's like, no, all I'm saying is gay good. It's like, no, I don't think he's trying to, like Toby said, they're not trying to tell you that that's the way you need to live. They're not trying to tell you, oh, you need to be gay. Like being gay is the right choice. It's just there. Where am I located? Washington. Many people consider Vavra almost as saint of man of purity, and then they fell as complete betrayal while they never knew him in reality. Thank you. Radic, I feel like, honestly, that's the truth. And again, I think a lot less people would like him as a person if they knew that back then. But just like with the Trump election, just like with a lot of other things where we're seeing people who all, they all gathered together to like join arms against a common enemy, now that the common enemies are being defeated, we're starting to see that these people don't all have the same idea about what is based, what is moral, what is, and so you're going to start seeing this to happen more and more. The thing is, you don't have to attack a game that other people are enjoying because it has a gay option. Now, you can argue that the option is stupid. And I say again, I will defend everybody's right to say that the option itself and the way they handled it is probably a bad way to do it. I agree. I don't like the fact that they took a bromance and they shipped two guys. But I'm also just going to play him straight. So for me, it's like, I don't know. Imagine given the lead's maturity level, he'll probably tank his game to own the chest. I hope not, dude. If you had a friend who was gay, you might be okay with that. Most people are. If your friend turned around and was like, but I've also had a crush on you for years. Yeah, Jen, honestly, that would definitely be a different situation. Look, we have gay people here in the chat, or we have had at different times. Okay, it doesn't, to me, do I morally approve of people being gay? Well, if we're going from like a traditional Christian standpoint, no. But is you being gay having any impact on my life personally? No. And is being gay in a video game real life? No, it's not. But see, John, I think a lot of those lines were taken out of context. It does. Here's the last thing I'm going to address on the whole the Musa guy, because I haven't played it yet. But from what I've heard from people who actually played through the entire game, this is a guy who is a 13th century Muslim. 13th century? No, sorry. 14th century, 15th century Muslim who believes that his people are better than Christians and Europeans because that's the way that he was raised to believe. If you went to Afghanistan right now, if you went to Pakistan, if you went to, hell, you could probably go to Palestine at this point, even as war-torn as they are right now, and you talk to a devout Muslim over there, and you talk to them about living in the West, they would probably tell you that they are superior to you because they view their religion, their culture, their values, and their ethnicity as superior to the West, okay? Because they think that we're all just a bunch of, evil, immoral pigs over here, which to some degree they're not wrong. So I don't think again that has any effect on me personally as far as the game goes. If you pull somebody out of their country and you drop them somewhere else, should they be as mouthy about it? No, they shouldn't. But if they're just trying to give like depth to the character, I don't care. Story arc Henry goes for an AIDS test. Well, they didn't have those back then. If you got it, you just got it. All right, Oblivion, have a good night, dude. I don't know, NS. I don't know which ads Nike released. I haven't paid too much attention to the ads. I saw some that were funny and some that sucked. Musa is saying in the way that Muslims are better than Christians, he basically mocks you. Yeah. I mean, John, you might be right, but I personally, I don't know. I'll know better when I've actually played through the game and see that for myself. Yeah, and I can appreciate you being objective about it, dude. Like I said, I think people are allowed to have objective, honest criticisms of the game. And yeah, most people from places prefer their own, even if they come from a legitimate shithole, People are going to prefer their own lifestyle. They're going to prefer their own culture. They're going to prefer things that they have always known because they're going to think that that's the best way to do things. 1403 in a country he shouldn't be in. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But in the same way, I hate to beat a dead horse. The whole Robin Hood Azim reference. If I remember, like back in the 1994, I think it was 1994, Robin Hood with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman. I mean, Azim was a little bit like that because he came from a country where he thinks that his women are prettier and his culture is superior. And, you know, to some degree, it's the Dark Ages. There's a certain element of society where things were pretty shitty for a lot of time, you know, for a long time, because again, the peak of the Roman Empire and everything kind of fell into decline. The Dark Ages, they got really good at killing each other. It took a while to pull themselves out of that. That's where you get like a lot of the Enlightenment and Protestant Reformation and all other stuff, but that's just too much history from here at this time. None of them predicted the culture shift, yeah. And like I said, I think that if we're looking at games objectively and we try to compartmentalize and go, would this game have been a problem 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? I think that the answer would have been 100% no. I think it would not have been a problem. I think people are just hypersensitive. So it was also Morgan Freeman, the woke leave out things like Morgan Freeman. But the thing about Morgan Freeman is, you know, as a person that he's not woke. He doesn't like Black History Month and all that other crap, so he doesn't do the race pandering. But aside from that, the character was just well done. Still think Vavra's an idiot, and that's fair. That's 100% fair. Like I'm not here to defend Daniel Vavra. I'm here to say I'm sick and tired of people spreading lies. Here's the thing: we talk about. I'm not going to get into like specifics, but if something is bad enough as it is, you don't need to embellish. So if you stub your toe on the wall, you don't have to say my toe fell off or I broke my toe. It still hurts. People can understand when you stub your toe, it hurts. You don't need to embellish. So this game already has questionable stuff. We don't need to make stuff up to make it seem worse than it really is. We can agree that the decisions they've made were bad decisions, or that there are certain aspects that are definitely leaning towards the woke side of things, without saying, oh my god, this entire game's trash, you know? Ugh, well, you know what, the camera's clicking off on its own. That's my sign that it's time to go to bed. So, they were just decimated by woke. Yeah, dude, honestly, that's what we get down to a lot of it, so. Alright guys, that is my sign to go to sleep. I appreciate y'all for hanging though. Thank you so much. Anybody who came from Smash's stream, dude, you guys are awesome. He's been super kind to the channel. Very, very supportive. I've talked to him in DMs before. He knows I'm going through a lot of shit with the fact that I was writing for Fandom Pulse and I was trying to, you know, help these guys out. And then the last few weeks, things have turned, everything's turned to shit. So I do appreciate you guys for hanging though, and let's keep having these good civil conversations where we can have these disagreements. You know, honestly, it's nice to be able to have intelligent conversations where we can agree to disagree, or we can help each other come to different conclusions without just rage baiting all the time. You know, so that being said, guys, I've got to get to sleep. But I appreciate everybody for hanging. NS, I'm not ignoring you, dude. I love you. Come over here to the US. I'll make you a burger. All right. Well, good, Darkness, because I don't do the screaming, ranting, raving stuff. It's just not me. I'll shit post on Twitter. I'll genuinely try to stir the pot on Twitter. But when it comes to videos that I make, articles that I write, content that I make, live streams, I try to be as objective as possible. And I know that we're all biased, and biases are not a bad thing. Despite what the media would tell you, a bias is not a bad thing. It's how you survive as long as you've survived, is having a bias. But I just try to be objective, so. All right, guys, appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for being so kind, and I'm going to catch you guys later. Hey, let's do Atomic Heart on Wednesday. I know we were going to try to finish up my side, but I'm going to play Atomic Heart on Wednesday. We'll put off finishing my side till the following week.